What the fuck is up, everybody? Welcome to the News Underground. I am Abandoned Nihilism. This is the News Underground, as I just said. I'm good at this. Trust me, I'm good at this. He's not. That was an interesting animal speed comparison we were watching there from somebody. Somebody came up with that. Thank you so much, whoever that person is. Don't have credit on that one. Got to watermark your content, folks, so the streamers that are stealing it can pretend to give you credit for it. I got 3 joints and I got 3 hot dogs, folks. Now we have the face cam on. Oh, it's on. I got 3 joints. I got 3 hot dogs. I got a loaded bowl. I got a second bowl of goldfish. I'm so motherfucking ready. I'm so motherfucking ready, dude. The spider is back, by the way. Spider, I guess we got the weeds again. We do. The spider has chosen peace. You know who hasn't chosen peace? Pro-Israeli counter-protesters. I'm shocked. I'm shocked that people who support Israel would be so violent. I'm shocked, quite frankly. Shocked and chagrined that people who would make excuses for Israel would be violent. That's fucking crazy, man. That's fucking crazy, dude. Israel is the most peaceful democracy in the Middle East. So how could this stuff happen? Ah, the sound of my people. I'm home, folks. I'm home. It's so crazy. Interesting counter-protesters using fireworks. They're also using weaponizing audio, blasting, pro-Israeli pop songs, and flashing, blinking lights. As you guys will see, most of these protesters are extremely young people that are, fully buying into the myth of defense, that this is somehow this is justified with defense, man. It's, the Iraq and Afghanistan wars were justified with, Vietnam was justified with defense, right? We had to get the commies before they got us here. It's I've yet to see this get them before they get us. I've yet to see outside of the fucking Nazis. You know what I mean? There's always that Nazi exception. But outside of the actual fucking Nazis, I've yet to see a good argument for getting them first before they get you. As we see here, the guards are standing around doing nothing. The guys say they're gonna kill us. They're gonna kill us, dude. No, but you know, like, so people are bitching about the guards doing nothing. Can I honestly ask you, if you were some campus guard, you know, getting paid $11 an hour, are you gonna be right throwing bones? You know what I mean? Are you gonna be pushing back against this chaos? And what a rock and a hard place for the university. Well, we don't want to, you know, overtly be, you know, showing support for Israel's ethnic cleansing, but we also don't want to show overt support for the pro-Palestinians because the bad actors have done such a good job of conflating support for Hamas for support for Palestine. And we can't do either. Just, I guess, just let them fight. let them figure it out. You just stand down. Welcome back, Zeo Duke. Welcome back, Strategy Member, by the way. Oh, is that how you do it? Strategy? Actually, umbrellas are pretty effective for that kind of stuff. The problem with fireworks, though, is that, of course, it can start a fire, and, of course, it can blind somebody. Someone who picks it up could get their fingers blown off. Some of the counter-protesters have been pretty out there. People getting maced and people false flagging, all kinds of skullduggery. Yeah, there's a couple videos I want to show you from a pro-Israeli person from the Israeli side, and he's trying so hard to be the victim. It's actually fascinating to watch him like play this victim game in real time. This, you know, it's okay for me to do it to you, but it's not okay for you to do it to me, and it's a really big deal, and I'm a victim. But then I'm lashing out. It's crazy. I'll show you the video here. Yeah, it's the next two videos after this one. This is just shocking footage. Once again, weaponization of fireworks. Whoops. I mean, and of course my internet is just completely screwed right now. My internet is just not behaving. So I don't know if you saw that whole thing. I'm going to show it one more time. No, Zeo Duke, please go ahead and show me that. Yeah, we're definitely seeing a lot of that weaponization of presence. You know, we saw that just a couple days ago with the other Israeli counter-protester who raised a big stink in the UK, got the you know, liberals in trouble. Oh, sorry, the Labour Party in trouble. Right? Oh, what do you mean? I can't be Jewish. I can't be Jewish. What are you talking about? And then we get the whole context, and he's literally trying to walk into the protest in the opposite direction. I'm a victim. I'm a victim. I'm a victim. Like walking in the middle of the protest in the opposite direction. How dare you? I'm a victim. I'm a victim. It's crazy. The entitlement is off the charts. It's off the it's in the fucking, you know. Hey, honey, can you close that window for me? I don't want any of it to get in there. Just burn your house down. You ate my sandwich. No comparison. One more time. Right. And you know, to these counter protesters, is this supposed to be effective? Is this supposed to be, you know, like, is this supposed to be you trying to garner respect? I mean, it's clear antagonization. and the media is playing along with it. But especially looking back, looking back on it, just in a few days, looking back at this, is it really going to be seen as this big positive? You fighting back against the liberal hordes that want to, that support Hamas and all the other crazy shit you say. Is this supposed to, make you look good? So this is the first video from this guy, and this one, he doesn't have any commentary, except in his text here, which is very, one-sided. A Jewish woman said multiple men assaulted her. Oh, that's a Jewish woman said all these pro-Palestinians tried to rape her, and so it's a rape. Everyone's raping each other. It's so terrible. The demons are at the gate. I heard somebody said somebody was raped. I heard that too. Yeah, I heard that. Pretty interesting. Let's go ahead and watch this. This is pretty wild. As you can see here, this is the weaponization of pop music. It's actually very similar. They're actually just doing the settler stuff. This is the exact same shit that they do to the Palestinians when settlers are intimidating them. Oh, don't touch me. Don't touch me. Oh, I'm just defending myself, getting as close as possible, getting right up in their face, hoping that they swing, and then when they do swing, see. It's like, geez, man. It's like watching a soccer player fake it on the field. It's like, oh, this is embarrassing. Pro-Palestine on the left, Israel on the right. The blinking lights, loud blaring music, and they're still losing, by the way. They're still losing. Every once in a while, it's hard to see in the chaos and whatnot, but every once in a while, one of these Israeli pro-Israeli people will run up into the crowd and just squirt, looks like a bear mace, looks like a bear mace canister, doesn't look like normal mace, spraying the crowd and then runs back. I've seen it several times. You might catch it in this video. We'll definitely catch it in the next video, and you'll see what I mean. But that's just to give you an idea of what's happening here. Mr. Tough Guy. Yeah, here we go. Yeah. I wonder how tough he would be if he was, if he was right there. I wonder how tough this fellow would be if the IDF gave him a gun and just said, go for it, man. Kill. Yeah, kill his man, woman, child. Kill them all. Kill, kill, kill. It's interesting how bombs, these bombs that kill so many, have kind of enabled cowards to be as pro-war as possible, because they just don't have to see it. They make funny comments under the pictures of children being uncovered from the rubble on social media. It's separated from them. But I wonder if Mr. Tough Guy here with the bloody hand would how would he act if he was really there doing the killing, really part of it, instead of just like, supporting another entity doing all the murder. So we can see a couple, you can see a couple of men here, but they're wearing white masks, very intimidating purge style masks, very intimidating stuff. Very frightening stuff, man. Yeah, all right. Okay, you want to kill us? And you're the peaceful ones, right? Throwing water and shit. You know what it looks like? when cowards who pretend like they want to fight get into a real fight. That's what it looks like. It's interesting when pretend tough guys want to get into a fight, they do that kind of, they get really close, right? Real intimidate, and then they kind of back off for a little bit. Oh, it got too real. It got too real. Back up, back up. Getting too real. Get close again. Is that what defending yourself looks like, by the way? Okay, so here's really a very revealing. Oh, by the way, big props to Woke Patriot, who provided all these clips on Discord. I didn't have to do any hunting. He was, eager to post as many as possible. So thank you, Woke Patriot. By the way, I know you're not here yet, but big props to Woke Patriot. But no, this clip is very revealing. This clip is super revealing, and keep a lookout for the pro-Israeli. Let me expand this window out a little bit for you here, but keep a lookout for the pro-Israeli. Oh, thank you, Woke Patriot, once again for these clips. Keep a lookout for the pro-Israeli who squirts the crowd with bear mace, and this guy doesn't comment on it. It's the one thing he ignores. He comments on every other, threw a water bottle. Oh, it hit that guy in the head. Oh, this chaos, chaos, it's chaos. Oh, they're pushing in on us. They're pushing in on us. Totally doing the Uncle Jimbo or whatever from South Park, right? Oh, it's coming right at us. Totally doing all these victimhood theatrics, in an attempt to make propaganda. But what he's really doing is showing his intentional selective bias in real time, right? Totally ignoring what the Israeli side is doing. Maybe not totally, because I think he does comment on one water bottle being thrown over. But it is interesting when he sees this guy mace the crowd. He doesn't, I know, and he sees it because he's quiet while this guy does it. I know he's looking at it, and he makes a conscious decision to go, oh, well, that's okay. In real time. You don't often get to see this, so watch this carefully. We might have to watch it a couple times, but you'll see what I mean. This is really something else.
They're pushing forward.
Pushing forward. Palestinian side. They're not.
The Palestinians continue to press forward up against the pro-Israel side.
No, they're not.
Liquid, we just launched our way. Small fights are ensuing right now.
There he goes.
Complete chaos happening right now.
Doesn't comment on that.
12:14 in la mañana. Oh, damn. Just missed that water bottle. That almost just hit me.
Oh, wow. Wow, he's dodging missiles, guys.
Oh,
my
God. Just
God.
struck a man in the head.
Oh, my God.
Another water bottle just struck another man in the head.
Oh, my God. It's a perfect microcosm of what's happening in Israel-Palestine, where there's a clear aggressor, there's a clear antagonizer, and you see this guy right here. Camera right on him, doesn't comment on him, spraying the whole crowd with, that's not a regular small little can of mace. That's the bear mace style. So just getting right up in there, and then the people start throwing water bottles back. Oh, we're the victim. Oh my God. Hit someone in the head. I heard someone got raped. I heard someone was sexually assaulted. A woman said she was sexually. Oh my God. Oh, I can't believe it. It's like it's happening right here in real time. It's fascinating.
It's 12:14 in la mañana. Oh, damn. Just missed that water bottle. That almost just hit me. Oh, another water bottle. That just struck a man in the head. Another water bottle just struck another man in the head.
What about the guy bear macing? No?
More water bottles. Okay.
Looks like he got a little taste of that bear mace. Whoops. Get a little taste of that bear mace, didn't you, big guy? Not good. Clear aggressor. They're converging. They're pushing up on us. No, they're not. Oh, they're throwing water bottles. Oh no. Oh. Pretty interesting video, I gotta say. That is that's the kind of shit you want to put into a documentary, fully categorizing, the entire situation there. And it really is in 1 minute 20 seconds. It fully encapsulates the whole situation. This perpetual victimhood narrative that has captured a certain amount of momentum that is seemingly unstoppable, and it's a steam engine that requires constant fuel from the United States, constant fuel. And like I said before, like, is this really gonna pay out for Uncle Sam? Is Israel really gonna back us up when the push comes to shove? All this fealty, all the destruction and death that we've enabled, because we could force Israel by, of course, limiting aid, right? Oh, then it'll be attacked immediately. Why in the world would its neighbors perceive it as a threat? Oh, no reason. Because they hate Jews. Really? That's the only reason. They just hate them. Okay. Because I'm not saying they're not anti-Semitic. Sounds like they smoked a Canadian doink. Oh, whoa, watch out, water bottles. Guy squirts the whole crowd with a fucking bear mace. Oh man, they're throwing water bottles back. Can you believe it? I'm dodging missiles like in Jerusalem. All right, yeah, we're gonna do the whole 11 minutes here because it's absolutely fantastic, and it just covers everything really well. So bite it. We're doing the whole 11 minutes of Democracy Now. She's over here still talking about Medea Benjamin and shit, though. Amy Goodman will never learn. So we just have to accept that she's a total thumbs down when it comes to Russia, Ukraine. With that said, show me a better 10 minutes of headlines. Show me a better 10 minutes, you motherfuckers.
Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. New York police and riot gear raided the campuses of Columbia University and the City College of New York Tuesday night, arresting more than 200 student protesters in the latest crackdown on peaceful Palestine solidarity protests on U.S. campuses. Over the past 2 weeks, police in the United States have arrested more than 1,200 protesters on campuses as students set up encampments, calling on schools to divest from Israel. The raid on Columbia came less than 24 hours after students occupied Hamilton Hall. It was 56 years to the day that police stormed the same hall during the historic 1968 protests at Columbia. On Tuesday night, police climbed into the barricaded building using a ladder attached to a police vehicle. Shame on you! Shame on you! Shame on you! During the police raid on the Columbia campus, the police also broke up the Gaza Solidarity encampment, which had inspired similar encampments across the country. Columbia President Manu Shafiq asked the NYPD to, quote, retain a presence on campus through at least May 17th, 2024. That's 2 days after Columbia's graduation. On Tuesday, faculty at Barnard College, which is part of Columbia, overwhelmingly passed a vote of no confidence for President Laura Rosenberry. Meanwhile, in California, pro-Israeli counter-protesters armed with sticks and metal rods attacked a pro-Palestinian encampment on the campus of UCLA shortly after UCLA's chancellor ruled the encampment unlawful. Pro-Israel counter-protesters launched fireworks at the encampment, which they tried to tear down. In Richmond, Virginia, police deployed pepper spray against student protesters
Can Israel stop
at
being
Virginia
so peaceful,
Commonwealth
please?
University. At least 13 arrests were reported. In Louisiana, a police SWAT team raided an encampment at Tulane University earlier this morning, arresting at least 14 students. The raid came hours after the school suspended 5 students in the school's chapter of students.
Pretty clear what's happening. Pretty clear to me what's happening. Trying to shut it down early, trying to shut it down quickly. Joe Biden, of course, election year, doesn't want this kind of embarrassment. I think he thinks that he can shut this down early and then get a deal out of Bibi and avoid Rafa. Rafa's happening, motherfucker. He's such a cuck. He's such a cuck, man. He's like Jerry Falwell Jr. over here, an actual cuck. I mean, because he's just begging for more. He's begging for more. His face slick with spit. He's begging for more. Stop. It's so embarrassing.
Students for a Democratic Society. In Missouri, a history professor was hospitalized Saturday after police violently threw him to the pavement. Steve Tamari, who teaches at Southern Illinois University, Edwardsville, was filming a protest at Washington University on his phone
body
when
weight
he was
on
attacked.
that guy. His
wife, Sandra Tamari, who is Palestinian-American, was arrested during the same protest. Meanwhile, at Brown University in Providence, Rhode Island, student protesters have voluntarily ended their encampment after school officials agreed to hold a vote on divesting from Israel. On Tuesday, the United Nations criticized
I briefly remember that being tried.
Student protests. This is Marta Hurtado, spokesperson for the UN Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights.
We are troubled by a series of heavy-handed steps taken to disperse and dismantle protests across university campuses in the United States of America. Freedom of expression and the right to peaceful assembly are fundamental to society, particularly when there is a sharp disagreement on major issues, as there are in relation to the conflict in the occupied Palestinian territory and Israel.
As negotiations continue over a ceasefire in Gaza, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has vowed to invade the southern city of Rafah with or without a ceasefire deal.
Yeah,
in a statement, Netanyahu said, quote, "The idea that we'll halt the war before achieving all of its goals is out of the question." Netanyahu's statement came hours before U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken arrived in Israel. On Tuesday, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres called again for an immediate ceasefire and warned an Israeli invasion of Rafah would be a, quote, absolutely devastating tragedy.
For the sake of the people of Gaza, for the sake of the hostages and their families in Israel, and for the sake of the region and the wider world, I strongly encourage the government of Israel and the Hamas leadership to reach now an agreement. Without that, I fear the war, with all its consequences both in Gaza and across the region, will worsen exponentially.
It's a newsboy cap.
The International Court of Justice has rejected a request by Nicaragua to order Germany to halt exporting arms to Israel, but the court declined to throw out the case. Nicaragua had accused Germany of violating the Genocide Convention by providing military and financial aid to Israel. In its ruling, the ICJ said,
I was wearing it before the show,
considers it particularly important to remind all states of their international obligations relating to the transfer of arms to parties to an armed conflict in order to avoid the risk that such arms might be used to violate the above-mentioned conventions. An 18-year career diplomat has resigned from the State Department over the Biden administration's Gaza policy.
Good for her.
Hala Rarit is the third State Department employee to publicly resign, joining Josh Paul and Anel Shilan. Rarit criticized the Biden administration's arming of Israel. She told the Washington Post, quote, "We're promoting a generational cycle of revenge that's not making Israelis any safer," she said. Haiti's new ruling on elected transitional council has picked Fritz Belazer to be the country's new prime minister.
Oh, she stumbled
through
that one.
His appointment surprised many in Haiti. Some members of the transitional council admit they don't even know who he is. Belazer had served as Haiti's sports minister from 2006 to 2011. Meanwhile, leaders of some of Haiti's most powerful armed groups are demanding a greater role in Haiti's transitional government. Over the weekend, Jimmy Cherizier, who is known as Barbecue, said, quote, "It's either we are all at the table or the table gets destroyed with all of us," unquote.
Quite a
New York Judge Juan
negotiator, that guy.
fined Donald Trump $9,000 on Tuesday for contempt of court for violating a gag order 9 times by publicly attacking witnesses and jurors in his hush money criminal trial. Judge Merchan warned future violations could result in jail time for the former president. Later on Tuesday, Keith Davidson, the lawyer who represented Stormy Daniels and Karen McDougal, testified during Trump's criminal trial about his dealings with Trump's attorney Michael Cohen. Prosecutors showed jurors the wire transfer authorization from Cohen, the form that Cohen used to send $130,000 to Davidson on October 27, 2016, to prevent Daniels from going public about her affair with Trump before the 2016 election. In other Trump news, the former president has refused to rule out political violence if he loses the election in November. Trump told Time magazine, quote, "I think we're going to win. And if you don't win, and if we don't win, you know, it depends. It always depends on the fairness of an election."
Oh,
unquote.
yeah. They're not laying their life down for
Trump
you, dude.
said he would, quote, absolutely consider pardoning every person convicted for taking part in the January 6th insurrection at the U.S. Capitol.
So you know what he's saying? You know what he's saying? You know what he's saying, right? He's saying, I'll pardon anybody that committed a crime before, and I'll pardon anybody who commits a crime to get me in. That's what he's saying. It's frightening. But here's the thing. These people are inherently cowards. Straight up. Your average Republican is one of the most cowardly, annoying, you know, pedantic, semantic, but ultimately cowardly. And they're not going to die for you, dude. But there will be violence. Democracy will live if he doesn't win. If he wins, Joe Biden will hand over power to him. You bet he will. You bet he will. Woke Patriot actually doesn't think that's the case. We have a bet going on. But no, he will. He absolutely will. Joe Biden will hand over power to a dictator to keep tradition alive, even for one more day. I'll heroically do it. I mean, what choice does he have, really, from another context? We are not advocating for that. No, vote for Biden, especially if you live in a swing state. Like, you know, if you live in a safe district like California, you know, it doesn't really matter what you vote for, right? But if you live in a swing district, you should definitely vote for Biden, because the fact is that Biden will hand over power to a dictator. But if he loses, and that's what we're talking about here, is if he loses, there will be little violent uprisings, you know, some hillbillies be taking over some city halls or something. And this is, and what Trump is saying is, I'll pardon all the criminals of January 6th, and, you know, you'll get pardoned for whatever crime. He say, you know, he's kind of leaving it open-ended, which is incredibly dangerous. But we have to remember that these people are cosplayers. You know, they dress up in military garb. They're not really down to die for Donald Trump.
We're going to win. And if you don't win, and if we don't win, you know, it depends. It always depends on the fairness of an election.
You got to vote for Biden.
In the same interview, Trump said he would, quote, absolutely consider pardoning every person convicted for taking part in the January 6th insurrection at the U.S. Capitol. Florida's 6-week abortion ban goes into effect today, blocking access to the procedure before many people even know they're pregnant.
Pink Owl, you're all right.
Last month, Florida's Supreme Court ruled abortion rights are not constitutionally protected, allowing the near-total ban to be enforced. The measure has exceptions for rape, incest, fatal anomalies, and medical emergencies. Reproductive justice advocates have vowed to keep fighting as Florida's High Court also ruled in favor of a November ballot referendum that, if passed, would enshrine abortion rights in Florida's Constitution. In a historic move, the Biden administration's moving to reclassify marijuana as a lower-risk substance. The Justice Department has recommended marijuana be reclassified to the same category.
Palestine stuff? What exactly do you mean by Palestine? You mean the ethnic cleansing in Palestine? Is that what you mean, Stuffed Owl? Yeah, I mean, Pink Owl. Yeah, no, I mean, the danger is real for LGBTQ people. The danger is absolutely real. Yeah, don't concern yourself too much with what your enemies have to say about you, Pink Owl. A lot of the people in the more popular chats are younger. You have to remember that as well. No, Pink Owl, indeed. All right. I think I misconstrued you.
As some prescription medication. For decades, it's been deemed a Category 1 substance, along with drugs like heroin. Rescheduling would ease restrictions on cannabis research and create legal protections for medical marijuana users who face housing and employment restrictions. DEA rescheduling would not result in federal legalization. The process for the drug reclassification could take months to complete. U.S. Rowing has announced it's rescinding honors for the late Olympic rowing coach Ted Nash after an independent investigation found compelling evidence of child sexual abuse. The probe was launched after former athlete Jennifer Fox revealed Nash began abusing her when she was 13 years old. In 2018, Jennifer Fox directed the film The Tale, a narrative memoir based in part on Nash's abuse. At the time, she did not mention Nash by name. Fox publicly accused him of abuse last year when she spoke to the New York Times and Democracy Now!
And I don't doubt that Ted did good in his sport, but the reality is this other story of the horror that he...
You know, this woman, we're going to let this woman speak, of course. I'm sorry to Kanye, but what Pink Owl is saying is, you know, Pink Owl is in an existential fight, okay, in this election. You know, this idea that we can just ignore what Trump is going to do, Project 2025, you know, even though we vociferously disagree with Biden, proud Zionist Biden, you know, who is not surprising us at all with his fealty to Israel. He wants to go into the grave as the guy that said, yep, Israel 100%. Doesn't matter. I mean, it's just bizarre at this point. It's like someone trying to keep a high score. Like no one, you know, you're gonna take this all the way to the grave. Yep. So, you know, up against, you know, that is, you know, for a lot of people, that's a tough thing to vote for. And I get that. But for LGBTQ people, seeing how the Republicans are politicizing their identity, attacking them, destroying them, you know, basically it's I don't think there's going to be death squads or anything like that. But what they are going to do is legally make them non-persons. And I don't know what they're going to do. Probably just force new identity papers on you, you know, new Social Security or whatever, update your Social Security or whatever it is, whatever they're going to do. But, and, you know, and then they're going to allow for establishments to ban congregating, you know, of gay people. I mean, the sky's the limit, you know, that, you know, they're going to try in every avenue to prevent gay people from being happy and being normal. And that must be an absolute nightmare. So yeah, being called a shit lib because you're like, yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know if we should let Trump win. You know, that does suck.
And I don't doubt that Ted did good in his sport, but the reality is this other story of the horror that he inflicted on me and possibly many, many others.
A lot of leftists are like that, yeah.
And I think it's very important to bring this other story out to the world now and to show this other part of the man that people put on a pedestal and made into a god. It's a very important act to stand up to power in this way for me and for others.
Yeah.
Go to democracynow.org to see our
I think
full
I agree with that
interview
statement,
with Jennifer
ADHD.
Fox. And workers around the world are marking May Day today. In Britain, hundreds blockaded the government's Department for Business and Trade to demand a ceasefire in Gaza and a halt of British arms sales to Israel. And those are some of the headlines. This is Democracy Now!
Great job, Amy Goodman. Dead wrong on Russia, Ukraine. But still the best 10 minutes of headlines I can ever muster. Whoops. Look, I think I clicked one too many. Yeah. Just some amazing photos here. Hit the volume. Just wanted to show some amazing photos from this LA Times article. This is what we can expect, folks. I mean, this police state is ready to go. It's equipped. It has all the rights it needs to do whatever it can to defend the rich, to defend the empire. They can do whatever the hell they want to us, man. This picture's wild. Absolutely wild, dude. What in the fuck? Would this guy throw it with one hand? I doubt it. It looks like he threw it with one hand. This is the cover photo right here. UCLA cancels classes after counter-protests violently attack pro-Palestinian camp. Wow, that's not like a, I don't know, that's like a string or something. I don't know. What is this? Is this something wrong with the camera or? I don't know. It's so weird. I don't know what this is. White string. Wild stuff. People had to defend themselves, though. I don't know. You know, I'm not convinced that these guys were going to kill anybody. I think they just wanted to rip the walls down and. Rounding up trans people, only in the most cynical and worst possible direction. My prediction, not that anyone asked, not that anyone asked, but my prediction is that it's going to be kind of a lazy and slow, apathetic slide into a full dictatorship. If they keep us depressed economically, if they keep us desperate economically, scrambling economically, they could avoid mass organization with stuff like this. Just full-blown extrajudicial, you know, kicking down the door of organizers, locking them up. I mean, look at what you have in Russia. You know, they don't need to round up gay people to keep them irrelevant, to keep them non-persons. They don't got to round them up, kill everybody. You know, there's smarter ways to do it. Yeah, I don't know what that is, Zeoduke. The slide at all, who knows? Maybe he's just there to boost his business and clean his record from previous stuff. U.S. has far too much law enforcement structure for death squads to become a thing. Yeah. Yeah, we don't need to do that shit. I mean, if, you know, obviously a legitimate resource war, we would start to see some kind of murder craziness happening. Russians don't round up gays? Not really. I mean, there's definitely gay bashing and violence against gays. But they don't need to death squad them to make them basically non-persons, you know what I mean? Zero political rights. All right, so I just had a couple videos here. I think I have, yeah, 2 more videos. Yes, exactly. I have 2 more videos, and then we're done. We're not going to watch this whole 20-minute video. But I just want to give props. Mike Figurino doing a great job covering this subject. You know, he's on top of it. He's really a great journalist, and folks really need to get on the fucking Mike Figurino boat here. You know, I don't agree with him fully politically. But with that said, he's a hardworking guy, and I see great journalism right here, and I can't help but give him props. So make sure you're liking and subscribing to Mike Figurino. Link in the chat. Let's go ahead and just watch the first few minutes of this.
Peaceful anti-war protesters on college campuses across the country are being brutalized by cops. They're being tear gassed and assaulted, and police aren't letting medics tend to their wounds in some instances. And this all comes after pundits and politicians incited this violence against these anti-war protesters. But I guess their thirst for violence against these protesters hasn't quite been satiated yet.
Yeah,
because
Tisrael, they're doing terrorism all night,
to neo-Nazis who marched in Charlottesville in 2017, they're rolling out even more spears against them to incite more violence against them.
Thank you for that correction, Tisrael.
What the hell is going on? What are these universities doing? Why aren't they doing something?
How come they're not cracking down on this? Democracy is happening.
Like
Someone help.
What a terrible example for our students. At the same time, these are young adults, and the question is, why do you choose to learn about the complexities of other situations around the world?
Oh, it's so complex.
This one, you want to set up an encampment.
It's
this
so
one,
complex.
you want to scare people. This one, you want to come to the edge of violence or even go to violence.
It's so complex. Oh, it's so complicated.
Your future.
This is the only way to remove terrorism.
Hey, Mika, if this looks like January 6th to you, you are a stupid person.
Looks like January 6th.
The violence that we're seeing is mostly instigated by police, but since the protesters haven't stopped, you want more cops to come in and brutalize them further. You're the one who wants violence, Mika. You're the one who needs to educate yourself. You're the one being hateful because you clearly don't view Gazans as human beings. But Mika is just a microcosm of a bigger issue in this country right now, where our entire ruling class has chosen to hyper-focus on these protesters in order to ignore the genocide taking place that's being supported by our government. But let me show you how desperate they've gotten in their attempt to demonize these protesters. Lauren Elke Schramm of the New York Post writes, long withheld rage from COVID shutdowns to blame for pro-Palestine protests, according to experts. Oh, this is what the experts are saying, apparently. But it gets better. Josh Levine of the New York Post writes, college students aren't having enough sex, so they're turning to anti-Israel protests, according to an NYU professor. That's why they care about human beings, guys. And this is just a theory, maybe they're against their university's affiliation with businesses that are complicit with Israel's genocide. Call me crazy, I know, but perhaps they're protesting the thing that they're saying they're protesting. But I mean, cops were sent in as demanded. The protesters have been thoroughly demonized by all of media and our political class, and yet the students are still going. In fact, the protesters at Columbia took over an entire building, and I say good for them. But you see, their defiance is really what's getting under the skin of people in our ruling class, because when they say you're supposed to do something, you not listening is unacceptable because they're the ones with the power, so how dare you not listen to the powerful? And it's pissing them off. And as a result, they're concocting new ways to try to rein in these protesters who are just trying to say, hey, we don't want our tuition dollars funding a genocide.
They're virgins.
For example,
That's why
Democrat Richie Torres, who took more than $1.2 million from the Israel lobby, teamed up with Republican Mike Lawler, who took $116,000 from the Israel lobby to propose the Columbia Act.
Thank you for these corrections in the chat. I wasn't aware that it was that bad in Russia.
Investigations and Accountability Acts. And this is going to give the Department of Education the authority to impose a third-party anti-Semitism monitor in universities that take federal money. And to be clear, what this legislation means by anti-Semitism monitor is Anti-Israel Monitor. That's what this is about. This is the college equivalent of BDS, which is a thing in 38 states, by the way. But I mean, if that wasn't enough, Democrats like Josh Gottheimer and Dan Goldman, who took $200,000 and $193,000 in bribes from the pro-Israel industry, respectively, co-wrote a letter to Columbia's Board of Trustees criticizing them for not disbanding what they called anti-Israel and anti-Jewish protests, which is a load of horseshit. And the letter was co-signed by 21 other AIPAC-funded Democrats.
All right, we'll definitely be covering that in the Ukraine section coming up.
$138,000 from the Israel lobby, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who took $855,000 from the Israel lobby, and of course Reggie Torres, but also Adam Schiff, who took nearly $1 million from the Israel lobby, just to name a few. Now, the reason why I'm telling you the amount of money that these politicians took from the Israel lobby is because it's important that you know that they're all compromised. They are trying to crack down on American citizens' freedom to criticize a foreign government at the behest of that foreign government.
Guys, you know, in Texas, it's totally illegal to boycott Israel. You're not allowed to do it, just straight up. I don't know if anyone actually gets punished, or they're like the cops knock on your door. I don't know. Maybe someone can pull an article about that one. But there's a law in the books in Texas. You can't boycott. You can't. There's no. Maybe like the rule is that an organization can't be formed. Sorry, that an organization can't be formed. Mouth is very dry for some reason. I don't know why. But there's a rule in the books, which is just so anti-free. Nothing else, right? Everything else is fine. You can boycott, Christianity. You can boycott all that, anything you want, but not Israel. It's fascinating.
Government who's funding them. And by their own standards, this kind of foreign influence is unacceptable.
Yeah,
in fact, Jared Moskowitz showed up to a House Oversight Committee hearing wearing a Putin mask in order to shame Republicans spreading disinformation at the behest of the Russian government. But I mean, if it's bad when Russia or China does it, is it not equally bad when Israel does it? I guess not. I guess that some Democrats are willing to make exceptions for foreign governments, specifically the ones that are funding them. But that's not necessarily surprising, since our government is already making exceptions for our allies, especially Israel, when it comes to human rights and international law. So, I mean, of course, Democrats are suddenly okay with foreign meddling if it's one of our allies, again,
it's
who happen to be bankrolling their
There's mass hypocrisy. Yeah, and they've been sustaining this hypocrisy for decades.
They don't even give a shit at this point. Like, the ends justify the means.
They really don't.
This isn't unique to Israel, to be clear, or unique to Democrats.
They really don't
Trump
give a fuck.
vetoed legislation ending U.S. complicity with Saudi Arabia's genocide in Yemen after they buttered him up, right? In a number of ways, not just campaign contributions, but staying in his hotels when he was president. So foreign influence is very much a problem in American politics, but we should be consistent and condemn all of it, and not just the countries influencing American politics that we don't like. But if these Democrats demanding a crackdown on peaceful protests feels a little bit authoritarian or even fascist to you, well, you're not wrong, and I'm sure you'll be unsurprised to know that fascists
it's exactly what they were doing during
Democrats
Occupy.
Like Richie Torres and Jared Moskowitz. In fact, Trump tweeted, "Stop the protests now," because like other politicians, he's also against Americans exercising their First Amendment rights if it's speech that he disagrees with. Remember, this is the same guy who tweeted out, "When the looting starts, the shooting starts," about Black Lives Matter protesters. And now Democrats are teaming up with the same fascists that they were criticizing 4 years ago to shut down speech that they don't like. Speech from individuals who are their constituents, to be clear, which is real smart Democrats in an election year. That is what I call true bipartisanship in action.
Not
right?
until we
As
declare war against them again.
When she was on the leftist mafia. Liberals are basically one moral panic away from becoming full-blown fascists. And we're kind of seeing that right now with a lot of Democrats. And by the way, we're not done talking about things that members of Congress are doing to crack down on free speech. This is not going to be an exhaustive list. There are Republicans going on Fox.
Yeah, so I mean, he goes into it. Jared Moskowitz, who's like, a big darling on MSNBC because of the January 6th stuff. Well, he's got Israel's back. And why? It's the money, guys. It's the money. It's the money. Okay, the more he supports Israel, the less that he has to beg for money elsewhere. Okay, and what does he care? What does he care? He pisses off a bunch of hippies that don't even vote, according to him, and the statistics don't lie. So what does he care? People that vote for him don't give a rip. Oh no, Bernie Sanders on the list. Oh no. Oh, let's see what he says about Bernie here.
But I don't think that this crybaby actually believes the bullshit that he's spewing, and I think you'll agree with me once we see what Ilhan said. So let's take a look at her comments, specifically within the context of another CNN host, Dana Bash, trying to get Bernie Sanders to condemn them, because of course that's what the fuck they would do. Why wouldn't they?
Senator, I do want to ask you about something that your friend and colleague, Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, said when she visited Colombia this week, and she supported the protests.
I think it is really unfortunate that people don't care about the fact that all Jewish kids should be kept safe, and that we should not have to tolerate anti-Semitism or bigotry for all Jewish students, whether they are pro-genocide or anti-genocide.
Cut. Yep. There it is.
Some Jewish students are pro-genocide. Are you comfortable with that?
I'm sorry, someone?
She said some Jewish students are pro-genocide. Is that something that you're comfortable with that?
Well, I don't know exactly. Look, what I think the essential point that Ilhan made is that we do not want to see anti-Semitism in this country. And I think the word genocide is something that is being determined by the International Court of Justice. But this is what I will say. I don't think there's any doubt that what Netanyahu is doing now, displacing 80% of the population in Gaza, is ethnic cleansing. That's what it is. Pushing out huge numbers of people. And now we're looking at the possibility of an attack on Rafah, where people have gone for so-called as a safety zone. So what's going
So we've talked about the use of genocide and how bad actors can, use that in their propaganda defending Israel and its actions. And that's why I choose to call this an ethnic cleansing, because technically that's what it is, instead of genocide. So I can avoid bad actors like Dana Bash. But at the same time, do I expect the regular citizen, the regular Joe on the street, chanting in the street, to understand the difference? It's a legal and technical term, and are they worried about getting hung up? Because like I'm a political guy, right? So I have to worry about getting called out if I'm not consistent in my principles and views. They're not worried about that. They're just it's a genocide. It's a genocide because in their understanding, a genocide is basically a lot of people getting killed. That's it. But there's a different word for that. Won't say that. But it's interesting that Bernie is on this as well. So I guess Mike Figurino is going to criticize him for this technicality. I don't know. I guess I'm on Bernie's side on this one here, because technically it isn't a genocide. But once again, I reach out to the lefties, to everyone else, and say like, well, regular folks don't know that, and does it really matter pedantically, semantically? Does it really fucking matter?
ethnic cleansing. That's what it is. Pushing out huge numbers of people, and now we're looking at the possibility of an attack on Rafah, where people have gone for so-called as a safety zone. So what's going on there, again, to my mind, is outrageous. And as you've indicated, I strongly oppose U.S. funding for Netanyahu's war machine.
I think that was a really good response from Bernie Sanders. I'm glad that he didn't take the bait and he tried to recenter the conversation to what really matters, the actions of the Israeli government, because I think that the media's point in hyper-focusing on these college campuses and their protests is to distract you from what they don't want to talk about, which is the war crimes that Israel is committing in Gaza. But
yeah, that's what all this is about. I mean, it's the lefty protesters are kind of like perfect timing. Took you long enough, guys. But yeah, they are using this as like the perfect distraction and excuse to, sorry about that. Yeah, they're currently using it as a perfect distraction right now to not talk about, the effective ethnic cleansing that is happening. No, I wasn't able to get an update on those people that were wandering up north. I guess they were just told to turn around at some point. I'm not sure what's happening with those folks that You know, I showed the footage, I think it was 2 weeks ago, of this donkey cart caravan of people wandering north saying that, oh, they're letting women and children in. I assume they were just told to turn around. God, I hope so. Once again, thank you, Mike Figurino. Great stuff. All right, last little bit on Gaza, Israel. So the, you know, I think it's hard to argue against this idea that Israel is obligated, that if Israel is being held true to what it's pretending, which is, oh, we're going to give it back. We're going to give it back. I guess the idea is that they owe the Palestinians some rebuilding, some assistance to rebuild, because they always say the mission was to destroy Hamas. The mission, of course, wasn't to destroy the Palestinians. So I think I agree with this, that Israel is absolutely obligated to help rebuild in Gaza. Of course, I know the disgusting reality that Israel has no intention of rebuilding in Gaza, because Israel has no intention of giving Gaza back to Palestine. If there's any rebuilding that's going to be happening, it's going to be, of course, Israeli settlers, or, you know, Israel just annexing it altogether. If they want to do the same thing, if you know what I mean, it was interesting. Bassem Youssef was talking about if Bibi Netanyahu declared peace right now, if he just stopped, he'd get a Nobel Peace Prize. He could absolutely, Bibi Netanyahu could absolutely take half of the Gaza Strip, all of Gaza City, and a big chunk, right? Basically half of it, and just let Rafah spill out into that remainder, and he'd be praised. Mika Brzezinski would be bending over backwards. He's like, you know, he's the peacemaker of the century. He's peacemaker of the century. Isn't that bizarre? But anyway, so I just wanted to make my comments clear before we saw this video, because I think I agree with this journalist that is asking this Israeli official. I think top Israeli official. Let's see here. I thought there was a description in the title. Yeah, David Menser, Israeli government spokesman. And this is a Norwegian journalist. So I do think I agree with this concept that Israel is obligated to rebuild Gaza if they want to stay true to their propaganda that this was just about Hamas.
You mentioned the Allies during the second.
All right, hold on. Sorry, volume switch. Of course, the brutal truth is that they don't. But let's ignore that for a second, and let's just enjoy the fantasy, and let's see this guy try to defend it. Let's see. It's interesting.
You mentioned the Allies during the Second World War. Yeah. Is Israel going to rebuild Gaza because you bombed the place?
So, unfortunately, this is not a war that we wanted or a war that we asked for.
Nor did the Allies ask for that war, but they helped rebuild Germany. So my question is, the World Bank estimates that your bombing has caused damages in Gaza to the tune of $18.2 billion. And my question is, will Israel pay for the reconstruction?
Nothing would make Israel happier, Israelis, I think to a person outside of this building, nothing would make Israel happier to have peaceful neighbors in Gaza, to have a Gaza which is prosperous, to have a Gaza which is allows for a better future for its children, a Gaza which is de-radicalized and is not constantly every 18 months. But you can't give those animals
waging war against us. You can't give them property. You can't do that.
So you've made that point time and again during the interview. I had a very specific
Peace
question.
is important to us, Yara,
yes,
okay?
But so is the reconstruction of Gaza.
It's 2.4
million people who have lost their homes. I'm asking you, Israel bombed Gaza. Will you take the bill for the reconstruction?
So I don't have an answer to that question because I don't know the official answer, and I don't want to give you an incorrect answer.
So who should pay for the reconstruction of Gaza?
But
who
Gaza
what's your opinion?
Should be rebuilt.
So what's your opinion?
We have in the past used our expertise.
Dancing, he's dancing.
He's dancing. Gaza in the past.
People listening to your answer, sir, would think that okay, Israel is not committing to picking up the bill for the reconstruction of Gaza. Why should the international community pay for the destruction Israel caused in Gaza?
So once again, Yama, I don't have an answer to that question, and I don't want to make a commitment here on Norwegian TV. Much as it's an important channel, I can't give you a commitment to that answer because I simply don't know.
You've said time and again that your war is not against the Palestinian people. Your war is against Hamas. So if you rebuild their houses, wouldn't that be a very good gesture on the road to coexistence?
So, Yama, this is the fourth time I think you've asked me this question, and I will give you the same answer. I'm happy to get an official response to that, but I cannot give a commitment.
There isn't one. There isn't one. Very cool video.
Radicalized.
You mentioned the allies.
Man, it's so cool. It's so cool when these guys who are media trained for Western media go to these, you know, I don't give a fuck news stations. Like, I don't care if you ever come back. Access journalism doesn't affect me. And they get absolutely nailed to the fucking wall, dude. Good stuff. Wow, what the hell? And now they're stuck in what is new, so wild. Really cool. You just said that. We're gonna see. No, what? From river to the sea, follow the water. What? What? What is happening? What did I say? I'm getting a lot of words put in my mouth, guys. So I knew from the beginning I wasn't gonna have time to play this, but it's pretty. Excuse me, pretty cool video. Recommend it. Owen Jones. Check it out. Good stuff. Okay, so, hey, Gen Z. Hey, Gen Z. Hey, Gen Z. You used an image, and since I understand a lot of history there. Wow. Hey, Miles. How you doing? Gen Z, I have the video for you. You're gonna want this link when you're done. You're gonna want to follow this guy. He's got your back. Academic who is absolutely on fire, pointing out the inequities in the situation. So I think you're really gonna enjoy this video. I have this video just for you, Gen Z, because I know I have at least one Gen Z viewer in the audience. You're gonna love this.
I've seen you talk about this in speeches. Talk about how the system is rigged. So if you got $1 million, great. If you got 5 million, 10 million, even better. Life gets easier because of the way our tax system's set up.
Yeah, we have a very progressive tax system until you get to about the 99th percent. And essentially the people who get most damaged by our current tax code, it's lower and middle income households, their taxes have gone up slightly because of consumption, but not because of federal. The people that really get hurt are what I call the workhorses. And that are people who make an exceptionally good living, but it's all current income, and they live in a blue state. They might be paying 50 to 54% tax rate. I bet some of those people are on around this table right now. But if you can make the jump to light speed and invest in assets, stocks, housing, then your tax rate plummets. So in America, we've decided to try and create a super class of billionaires, and then if they win the gold medal, we're going to give them the silver and the bronze. Two biggest tax deductions, capital gains and mortgage interest. Who owns homes and stocks? People my age. Who doesn't know? Who rents and makes their money from current income? Young people. So we've decided that the wealthiest people in the world should get exceptionally more wealthy. Minimum wage stuck at $9.25. Stock market is screamed up. The average 70-year-old is 72% wealthier than they were 40 years ago. The average person under the age of 40 is 24% less wealthy. We are purposely transferring more wealth from the poor and middle class to the upper class to the super rich, and from young to old.
And you say in the book, which is true and alarming, but let's say a 30-year-old American in America right now is doing no better than his or her parents. Then that's a new thing.
Kind of ironic to see this on Morning Joe.
You would think over time, we want to do better than the next generation, than the last generation. It's not happening anymore.
I think it all ties into what we're talking about on campuses. For the first time in our nation's history, a 30-year-old man or woman isn't doing as well as his or her parents were at 30. That is the social compact breaking down. People aged 30 to 34, 60% of them in 1990 had one child.
Clutch is right.
Now it's 27%. People are opting out of America. They're not optimistic about it. They're not having kids. Young people aren't having sex. They're not meeting. They're not mating. The pool of emotionally and economically viable men shrinks every day, which lessens household formation.
Monkey, welcome back.
So we have a real issue. Young people are enraged. So it turns every cut, every movement into an opportunistic infection because, quite frankly, they are just pissed off. They look up, they see wealth, exceptional wealth across my generation and people in certain industries, and they are really struggling. Their purchasing power is going down, and the incumbents create artificial scarcity on campus. We take pride in rejecting 90% of our applicants, so the incumbents who already have a degree see their degree go up in value. We get very concerned with housing and traffic once we own the housing. Housing permits are sequestered
Lenny,
from young people. Housing prices
welcome back to the show. It's Lenny.
420 in the last 4 years. So a young person, a house, stocks that I don't own skyrocket in value. Let's have COVID relief and flush the markets and take assets way up, because if 1 million people dying would be bad, it would be tragic if I got less wealthy. And we're doing it on their credit card. Young people have every reason to be enraged, and every issue they see, they look up, they get angry, and they see someone doing better than them, and then every day it is speedballed in their face that they are failing, that they are not doing as well as everyone around them. We have lost the script.
It's not you, dude.
More anxious, and more depressed, and more obese, and more addicted, and we have made a purposeful decision to let this happen by ensuring the people around this table stay wealthy at the cost of young people.
So, Scott, what's the social element of that? That's the economic
Boom,
element.
this guy's slam dunking it, dude.
Mentioned. The happiness, the anxiety, all of those things. The kids aren't getting together anymore.
It's not your fault.
Having kids. What happened in one generation?
The only thing that is your fault, Gen Z, is the lack of political activism. Because that's the only thing that's going to change this. That's the only thing I'm harping on you on for. Okay? And you don't have to get out in the street if you're so meek. Oh, I can't separate myself from my, my pretty pink room and, I don't know, I'm a furry and I'm shy. You should wear your furry costume out in the marches. But hey, that's okay. There's a million other things you can do. But you need to ask yourself once a month, what am I doing for the political movement to create change? Wherever you're comfortable. So as long as you're doing that, you can blame everything else on the boomers. Basically, okay? It's just that simple. Just boil it down. And hey, big props to your boy Lenny, who was repping that Garbage Fuel merch. Check out the merch store, folks. Lenny was rocking that Garbage Fuel merch. It was something else. Sorry I wasn't able to make it. I was taking care of the kid. But thank you. Make sure you're liking and subscribing to Lenny's stream. If you like my content, you'll love his. Like and subscribe. AccidentsWaitingToHappen.com. Great stuff. Thanks again, Lenny, for repping that merch.
Social media has to play a role in it, I'm sure. But what else do you see that has created this climate for this generation?
I think you have the most talented, well-resourced people in the world and companies trying to convince 100%. A young man that he can have a reasonable facsimile of life in his basement behind a screen. You don't need friends. Go on Reddit or Discord. Mm-hmm. You don't need to get a job. Go on Robinhood or Coinbase and trade crypto and stocks. You don't need to go through the rejection and the expense and the humiliation and working out and having a plan and humor and showering to get a romantic relationship. You have YouPorn. So we have an entire generation, especially of young men,
take that, Asmongold,
out home, sequestering from society and missing out on what it means. There's a reason romantic comedies are 2 hours and not 15 minutes. True victory in life is hard. Going out, meeting someone, finding mentors, finding mates, that stuff is hard, but that's what real victory in real life is like. And because a lot of men feel rejected on dating apps, the number of jobs that are accessible to them has gone down. You have essentially a group of men who are saying, I want a low-risk entry into life, and they go down a rabbit hole. When they don't have social connections, and they don't get out, and they don't have the prospect of a romantic relationship, they're more prone to conspiracy theory, they're more prone to misogynistic content, they're less likely to believe in climate change, and some become
I'm just going to say this, okay? Whether it be man pussy or regular pussy, pussy does change you. And I don't know, look, you got to be a guy. So I'm sorry if there's any ladies in the audience. I don't mean to be misogynistic here, but you kind of have to be a guy to understand what it's like to get no ass. And then you like double down and triple down on it. Like it's just, it turns you into like a crazy person, like the Nick Fuentes, right? It turns you into a Nick Fuentes. But even then, right, you got guys like what's his nuts, that failed comedian. I'm sure he's getting women, but I don't know, man. It makes you crazy. There's something to it. I wonder if this book he has it sounds like he's referencing something. Some kind of I don't think he's talking completely out of his ass. That would be funny if it's just his total like asshole opinion that this is the way. But it sounds like this is the kind of the whole theme of his book. So I wouldn't be surprised if he has several studies to back him up on some of the stuff. And I don't know if you've been online, you've seen these types, and then it's like they reinforce themselves. It's like a community now, and it's toxic, man. It's super toxic.
Really bad citizens. We are producing.
Look, there's ladies out there for you guys. Look, I understand you guys. You're not looking great or whatever, right? You clean yourself up the best you can, right? But you didn't win the genetic library. I get it, dude. It's tougher, right? But there's ladies out there, and maybe she's not going to be Claudia Schiffer, but she'll love you, man. And that's the most important thing in the world, more than sex or anything else. Finding someone who loves you. But yeah, I've seen it. If you live in a small town, you know for a fact that there's somebody for everybody. That there is somebody for everybody. No matter what you look like, no matter how much you weigh, you can find your true love. Okay? You just got to lower those expectations a little bit.
Too many of the most dangerous person in the world, and that is a young, broke, and lonely young man.
Why is it that so many of these young people that you're talking about seem to head into life after going to 4-year schools or 2-year schools or whatever, head into life with a lack of financial literacy? They don't know anything about money or the growth of money. All they know is the absence of money.
I think we need to have, in our curriculums in high school, a class on adulting. My kid, I see it in my house. My kid, can do integers and basic calculus, but he doesn't understand the interest on his credit card.
Yeah, he doesn't get
so
taxes.
There's just some basic
That's
kind of
intentional
financial literacy that we're not teaching.
It's ironic because it's the world that the owners of MSNBC have created. This is very intentional. And, a bunch of hippie liberals have actually been talking about this for quite some time. Woke Patriot can attest to this, how the criticism against our education system, how it creates good little drones, but it doesn't create critical thinkers and actually doesn't prepare people for the real world. So it's beyond ironic to see this guy, this professor over here writing a book about the world that the owners of MSNBC have fucking created. Right, that Joe fucking Scarborough was a happy participant in when he was a fucking Republican politician. It's beyond ironic to me. I don't know if anyone else spots this.
Teaching, and when you start replacing civics,
ADHD, I love your comment.
Computer science, you lose a sense of the country, and you start learning about programming. And when you don't talk about basic financial literacy,
it does feel,
or even mating, I would like to see in this.
Look, the thing about feeling bad for incels is that it's like kicking a puppy. When a puppy pisses on your carpet and takes a shit on your bed, the puppy doesn't really know no better. And look, that's the kind of ignorance that we're dealing with. We can't. We live in a democracy. We live in we're trying to live in a functional society. We can outvote them. And the one thing, though, that the neoliberals do owe the incels, that the lefties do owe the incels, is that they need to govern better. So we have an example of Oakland, California, of the mayor over there completely botching a bunch of progressive policies, making progressivism look like utopian fantasy in the face of authoritarianism, police state. So we do need to come to the rescue of the incels in that we do need to make the economy better. We do need to have better policy. We do need to show them that authoritarianism isn't the only way. And right now, I do believe Joe Biden and the neoliberals are failing to, show the benefits of left policy, because you know what they're doing? They're using the language of progressivism. They're using the language of the left while basically serving the corporate right by serving a big portion of that conservative, very small oligarchy. They make progressivism look like neoliberalism. And that's simply not the case. I mean, honestly, honest to God, if you walk up to Mika Brzezinski, she'd probably call herself a progressive. That's how delusional these people are.
The senior year of college, mating dynamics, and help men understand, and women, what is unique to them and their vulnerabilities to social media. I was talking about the challenges of men from social media. At exactly the wrong time in a young girl's life, she is presented with a valuation where she never gets to leave the high school cafeteria 24/7. And as my colleague Jonathan Haidt has pointed out, we've seen a dramatic uptick in suicide. But I think effectively we just don't have basic skills for young people. We're teaching them advanced things, but we're not teaching them the basics around what a mortgage is, what interest rates mean. So I think we could use just a basic class on adulting, junior or senior year.
Hey everyone, MSNBC
has
everyone,
here, step by step, here's to download the app. Okay. We really need this to work. We spent $25 million on this. We got to get this to work. I don't know how much they spent on it. All right, there you go. Young people. Look him up. Look up that author. What's his nuts? Algebra of Wealth, Scott Galloway. Look, it's not totally your fault. That doesn't mean you can sit on your ass and like woe is me all day, okay? It's not a ticket to do that. But just like with the millennials, it's not your fault. They've built a exploitative system. They've built a very exploitative system. Okay. Moving on to the next story here. Real quick, but I thought this was shocking that we're already seeing, speaking of Gen Z, one of the things that they're very passionate about, actually, that's a good transition. Here we go. I'm a professional. Speaking of Gen Z, over here on the coffee hour, speaking of Gen Z, one thing that they're very passionate about is climate. Well, I picked out this story here. This Casey Kasem. Can I do it? Casey Kasem. I can't do the Casey. Damn it. But no, this is shocking news over here in Jakarta, Indonesia. Jakarta is sinking. Indonesia's $30 billion. You sure that's dollar? I guess so. Maybe that's the translation. $30 billion plan to relocate 11 million residents to new capital starting in October 2024. So we got people, we got legitimate politicians who are denying the reality of climate change. And here in Jakarta, they're setting aside a budget to mass migrate 11 million people before the problem gets any worse. So I mean, it's like right in our face. It's like literally happening right in our face. This is a rendering of future 150 meter tall presidential palace. Oh no. Well, I don't know. That looks all right. That doesn't look too. I mean, this is a little much. the Skyrim stuff happening in the background. This whole situation's a little much. Can you see my mouse or in the back there? I don't know if you can see my mouse, but that crazy latticing and that insane bushwork. I don't know what the hell is happening back there. Can you climb on that? I don't think you can climb on that. Can I can just look at that? That's huge. How much is that going to cost? Oh, that's okay. It's your money. If you tell me Putin's new lair, I would. Nice background. That's where the wizards study. Too much bling. Pantheon, because we're all in this together. Exactly, dude. You guys are slamming him, dude. But yeah, look at this. Okay, this I can vibe with this. This looks nice. It looks opulent enough, right? It's got this cool thing happen. Then you just like throw this in the back, dude. It's like SimCity, right? So I got some property back here. Douche. There we go. This totally insane multi-million-dollar. Okay. All right, well, that's just a render. Hopefully it stays that way. Ambitious plans are in place to relocate the entire sinking city 1,200 miles away to a large island inhabited by indigenous communities. Oh boy, I bet that's going to go over well. More than 1.9 million residents of Jakarta, Indonesia's capital, may need to relocate as part of an ambitious $24 billion plan, or 24-pound $30 billion plan. The first residents are expected to move to the new city by the end of October 2024. Holy shit, that's, wow. So in just a few months. The new capital city of Nusantara, there's a nice vibe to it, Nusantara, which encompasses a vast area of 1,000 square miles, is being built on the island of Borneo. Only 216 square miles have been allocated for the city's initial development. The remaining land will be used for future expansion, according to The Sun. Wow. Jakarta's population is booming, currently at 11 million. Experts warned that by 2050, rising sea levels could submerge up to 95% of North Jakarta. In response to these challenges, the Indonesian government is gearing up to develop a new capital city. So they're starting now, you know, they're like, okay, yeah, okay, we're done denying it. The science is real. We see it happening. You know, there's a very good chance that nothing's going to change. We're kind of screwed. Yeah, Davey, this is, I'm out on, it's a bit of a vacation. No, this is, yeah, I'm on vacation. I don't live out here. This would be so nice to live out here. I live in a townhouse. So my neighbors would be really weirded out if I was like sitting outside my front stoop doing this. But no, I'm in a nice cabin in the woods, basically. The old Aspen Grove. No, I'm in Victoria. But anyways, it's, you know, they're not denying anything. They're not, oh my God, look, H&M, your clothes are not that cool, okay? Your clothes are like, talk about Indonesia. They're probably made in Indonesia. So yeah, so this is fascinating stuff. You know, climate change, it's not a myth, it's a reality. It's happening. They're starting right now because they think by 2050, basically all of North Jakarta is going to be underwater. So they're like, yep, we're starting now. We're just going to move the whole capital, the whole thing. It's just, we're doing it right now. This is not happening. I'm sorry, honey. This is, you know, they just, you know, if it was coming out of their money, it would be like, it would be 1/4 the size. It would look like a apartment duplex, like some dry office building, some square, if the money was coming out of their pockets. Oh, the taxpayers are paying for it? Oh, let's build a fucking Skyrim palace. Okay. All right, Indonesia. You go, girl. It's a very quiet song. There it goes. That's very quiet. All right, moving on to the next story here. This was a really great link by Leon. Won't they have invented ways to raise land by that point? Not like that. Not for millions of people. It's just easier to relocate them at that point. It'd be hundreds of billions of dollars to do that. Trillions. But no, so this, I really should have had this after the Gen Z segment there. But just to give you an idea how these, these excuses, it's nothing new. Nobody wants to work. Nobody wants to work. Nobody wants to work. Fascinating link here by Leon. Clips from various newspapers. Let's just assume these dates are right. But we don't, I don't need each single one to be sourced to know that this is a excuse that they've been using for quite a while. But it's just an interesting little snippet here. It is becoming apparent that nobody wants to work these hard times. 1894. Unreliable. None want to work for wages. Twisting mustache. 1916. He answered, the reason for food scarcity is that nobody wants to work as hard as they used to. 1922. It is because nobody wants to work anymore unless they can get a decent wage and buy a house and have a family, the greedy sons of bitches. 1937, quote, nobody wants to work anymore. There is work. It is reported. There's work everywhere for pennies. You can't even pay rent with it. Oh, but there's plenty of work. Work 2 jobs then. Nobody wants to work anymore. Oh, this is good. 1950. Everybody was getting too darned lazy and nobody wants to work anymore. That's the truth if I ever heard it. 1969. Nobody wants to work anymore. Nobody wants to work anymore. 1980, 1979, basically 80. But they just fooled around. They didn't want to work. Nobody wants to work anymore. 1981. Sounds like they're talking about young people in the workplace. Bunch of coked up 80s young people. Nobody wants to work anymore. They're just having fun. Going to the 80s, listening to the Eurythmics. 1999. Nobody wants to work anymore, said Cecil. They all want to work in front of a computer. Oh, that's funny. I can read that. They all want to work in front of a computer and make lots of who knows, emails. Goddamn Gen Xers. 2006, like nobody wants to work anymore. 2014. What has happened to the work ethic in America? Great stuff, great stuff. Thank you, Leon, for that link. Once again, Gen Z, it's not you. Not you. Don't blame yourself. How the aristocrats so love hard work, yeah. Everyone wants to work all the time. Will they have invented ways to raise land by that point? No, okay, sorry. Backing up too far. I gotta stop reading a lot. All right, so the next couple stories, I just want to remind people that, I don't know if you knew this, but right-wingers, at least, the loudest ones that put a camera in front of them, in front of their face, politicians, their loudest supporters, they're like perverted deviants. Did you guys know that? Did you guys know that? This shit keeps popping up. If you're following the news, this happened, like big stories like this pop up like 6-7 times a year, sometimes more if you're following the news. Little things, they let little things slip. Sometimes they're big time busted, but usually it's things like this where they just let it slip. That they're actually big time super mega perverts, right? And the whole religion thing is a total scam. Here's another example on top of this one. The legislation about having to check genitalia for, participating in sports events and etc., right? Let's make it legal. You know, like for school officials. Pretty wild shit. Does not come from the left. The left doesn't want to do that. Left does not want to do that. But no, here's some Prager. LARPer, welcome back. It's you, right? Yeah. Oh no, Lee Spanner. But here's something from Prager. Listen to this. Quote from Prager. If you don't know who Prager is, PragerU, fake university, fake information. By the way, his fake university, his fake news, like literally made up, remixes of history are being taught in schools in America. I need to stress this. Well, this is what Prager thinks about incest. Dennis Prager, quote, "There's no secular argument against adult incest. Brother and sister want to make love. What's your argument? They're going to produce mentally retarded offspring? Question mark? That's nonsense. It takes many generations of an inbreeding to do that." So, I mean, I don't know if this guy is just taken like, I'm a fake pretend expert, to this insane level. Like I'm literally gonna comment like as if I'm a geneticist and I know exactly how many generations it takes for incest. Maybe that's it. Maybe he was just on a roll and he's like, I'm the smartest man in the world and I can answer any question about anything and I'm a geneticist and I can talk about this and it's actually not that even that big of a deal. And maybe he doesn't, support it. But it's just like, I don't know, man. I haven't seen I guess I was about to say I haven't seen anybody on the left doing this shit, but then I think about the stupid fucking bullshit that Destiny got up to. Remember the fucking incest bullshit that Destiny got up to? So how about y'all just shut the fuck up? How about we talk about policy? Huh? And once again, I got to remind you, his fake university is taught in schools. Maybe some would consider him left, yeah, but he does support Israel. So there's a lot of other. I would consider him neoliberal. Holy shit! I see Tuttle Twin commercials all the time, and I hate it. Yeah, so. It's unbelievable, but the right wing is trying as hard as they can to get his curriculum taught in schools, and they've succeeded in right wing areas. I don't think any of his stuff is in California. Just following up on this theme that conservative religious folks, hypocrites, and are quite deviant, and this is reflected in the statistics as well. If you look up the statistics of people who are actually molesting children, it's not gay people. Okay? It's usually religious, right-wing, pasty white guys. But listen to this. I didn't know this was a thing. But did you know that child molestation insurance was a thing? Uja Anya on X saying here, just take that in. They rape children so much in religious institutions that a whole insurance industry exists to save them from being bankrupted by all the lawsuits. So Pastor Ben over here she's commenting on this or retweeting it or comment tweeting. Pastor Benjamin Dixon. I see. Saying, considering the fact that churches are now required to have child molestation insurance, maybe you should ask how you can protect our children from male pastors, male church leaders, male youth pastors, and deacons. Fascinating. Did you know about that? Child molestation insurance. And they have the audacity to, to put people, I mean, we just saw in Alabama, them, praying and speaking in tongues to justify abortion, using the book to justify any number of authoritarian actions. And they have the audacity to be, to try and tell us, what is right and wrong, when their institutions have such a rampant problem. They've created an entire niche insurance industry around the molestation of children. Really, and honestly, that kind of says a lot about America right there as well, that, it's like there's certain problems, well, we just don't want to fix that problem. And we would just rather, forget it. And the world does that, quite frankly. For some reason, crimes against children, I say this about Michael Jackson because, I don't find his music very good. But if I believe that about Michael Jackson, I'm going to have to believe that about Led Zeppelin, who was, they're getting up to all kinds of trouble with 14-year-old groupies. But it is interesting how sex crimes against children is like somehow, still kind of like, oh, well, what can you do? They're certainly happy to politicize it. How you doing, Yi Law? Just talking about some light topics as normal. Prager's wrong about the genetics. Brother and sister have 25 chance of getting 2 copies. The risk falls off dramatically with first cousins. Wow. That's crazy. Boston Globe article in 2011 and the movie Spotlight outed the Catholic Church. Oh, yeah, Lenny. Spotlight. Oh, my God. I think I remember that. 1 in 20 clergy are abusers. Imagine 5% of a field having that kind of ratio. It's disgusting. ADHD. Yeah, Ponder Monkey. Wouldn't that be wild? So, yeah, moving on to our next article. So that big fat dub that Pete Buttigieg was announcing, the Treasury Secretary, Pete Buttigieg, we showed the clip and it's like, yeah, you got to give credit where credit is due. There's several things that the Biden administration is finally doing. Of course, during an election season, we're finally seeing something happen. And it was a big dub. It was basically, look, if airlines fuck you over, they can't just hold on to your money. They can't just, rip you off and make you jump through a bunch of hoops. If they lose your luggage, they need to compensate you. No more of this, it's just unbelievable. Lenny, I'm sure, has covered this on his show. But it's just unbelievable how they rip us off and take advantage of us. And they just seem to have special rules. Like, there's no other industry that can just take your shit and lose it. And it's like, well, we tried, but it's gone. You're screwed. Or like, randos get to rifle through it. So, great legislation. Airlines have to treat you like a regular, like any other business, has to treat you like with respect and give you refunds appropriately. Blah, blah, blah. Ted Cruz thinks that he just reflexively comes out and has a problem with this. What? I mean, honestly. This is insane. Just say nothing. How can this be a slam dunk to people who support Ted Cruz? How? Let's read. I'm curious what he actually said. Okay, yeah. Yeah, so that's a quote from Pete Buttigieg, which is a total slam dunk. Passengers deserve to get their money back when the airline owes them without headaches or haggling. What did he say? Ted Cruz and 4 of his fellow members of Congress want you to fly through the hoops to get a refund for the airline. I should have found a better article, sorry. Last week, the Biden administration issued a new rule requiring automatic refunds from airlines if a flight is delayed or canceled. But then Senators Ted Cruz Maria Cantwell, as well as Representatives Sam Graves and Rick Larson, proposed legislation that would undermine the rule by requiring passengers to submit a, quote, written or electronic request to get a full refund if their flight is canceled or heavily delayed. Why? Why do you care? who cares? Just a total like, oh, just slow it down because they know there's a certain amount of people that won't do it, and it'll save the airlines a certain amount of money. Let's add this hoop. Let's add this bureaucratic hoop. Ridiculous. Coming in at the clutch. Okay, so that's what it was. It wasn't actually a quote. You get the point. All right, next 3 articles. We're not going to dwell on it too long here. Yeah, Spanner. I think Ted Cruz might be the most dangerous person in American politics. He's super smart, and according to everyone who knows him, he's utterly immoral. Yeah, I agree. Clutch Cargo is incredibly dangerous. Him and Matt Gaetz, I would put him in that same category. If Matt Gaetz can survive his pedophile issues. Yeah, Ponder Monkey. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely been some dubs for sure, but he's not going to do mushrooms. He might do marijuana. I don't think he's going to do it though. He was a boomer right off the bat with marijuana. You know, immediately, you know, doing drug testing, his AIDS and stuff, kicking anybody out, smoking the reefer. So Elon Musk is really getting it, dude, and I gotta say, I'm loving it. I'm loving every fucking minute of it, quite frankly, because you know it's a great example. Most billionaires shut the fuck up, and when their kids shut up, and when their kids fuck up, and when they fuck up, it's like it's under the table. It's like, you know, it happens. It kind of happens. You know, it's like, oh, you know, it's in the financial papers. You know, no one really talks about it. But Elon Musk is out here just showing his ass to everybody and really showing us how ridiculous these nepotism babies can be. You know, how ludicrous it would be to have them in charge. You know, when there's like an air of mystery to some of these billionaires, they can kind of like emulate, you know, looking smart, looking brilliant. They can kind of emulate that successfully. The money really helps. But Elon Musk shows everybody that, hey, having $1 bajillion doesn't make you smart or clever, any of that. You know, you can be an absolute disaster, and it's starting to show. Elon Musk publicly dumped California for Texas. Now Golden State customers are getting revenge, dumping Tesla in droves. So this is some amazing numbers here. Coming out of California. So in California, there are Teslas as far as the eye can see and rapid charging stations aplenty. New drivers are opting out of the $605 billion Elon Musk-led car universe. Among the top 3 passenger cars sold in California in the first quarter of this year, Elon Musk's Tesla Model 3 dropped from first place to third, behind the Toyota Camry and the Honda Civic. Oh, that hurts. According to the California New Car Dealers Association first quarter auto outlook. So people and we're reconnected. Sorry, folks. Bad internet. I'm back. We're back. Sorry. But back in the chat. Back. Let all your friends know. We back. It's the internet. It's my bad internet. We're back. But no, just to go back to what I'm saying here, that's a huge drop in registrations, even on top of all the added competition. You know, I was watching the Canucks game last night, and all the car commercials were for you know, all the traditional brands, all their new E models. They're loud and proud. You know, it's the future. We're not hiding. We're not letting the oil companies, you know, dominate our narrative anymore. We're going, you know, it's Tesla's. Here's our car that kind of looks like a Tesla. Here's my car that kind of looks like a Tesla. So there's a lot more competition. But there's some interesting numbers here about how Elon himself is affecting these numbers. California makes up 32.5% of registrations of battery electric vehicles in the U.S., and the sluggish popularity of Tesla amongst new car registrants come as a particularly vulnerable time for Tesla as a company and for its CEO. Musk is facing significant pressure from investors who want to see him adopt the norms of a more traditional CEO, step back from his grandiose social media presence, and provide a more concrete timeline for producing an affordably priced Tesla. Oh, that's boring. I want to inseminate my girlfriend who lives in my house. I married her and then I divorced her. That's more fun. I don't know how many babies he's going to put in that poor woman. The company reported last week that revenues dropped 9%, which was the largest drop since 2012, while net income dropped a whopping 55% in the first quarter. Dude, I mean, I don't care who you are. That is a massive drop. 55% net income. 3 of its top executives, including well-known insider Drew Baglino, we all know Drew, resigned in the space of 2 weeks, which further rattled investors. Yeah. Quote, Californians' love affair with electric vehicle giant Tesla may have peaked, the CNCDA said in a statement Monday. The group tracks trends in California's new vehicle market using data from Experian Automotive. The CNCDA represents California-based franchised new car and truck dealers. The numbers don't lie, said Brian Mass, president of the CNCDA. They indicate that the incredible growth that Tesla has had for the years now have stopped and certainly slowed in the most recent report. So this is a good part here. The market share for battery electric vehicles fell from 21% to 20% in the first quarter. Wait, no, this isn't the good part. No, okay. I think we already hit the good part. Yeah. Oh, wait, no. Here we go. Sorry, when I read these, I read them so quickly, I forget how long they are. I really need to shorten these up. So he's just pointing out that Musk is getting in the way. He's basically doing a really like shit sandwich over here. He's like, oh, well, Tesla, it's, there's lots of new competition. Also, Elon Musk is a right-wing psychopath on Twitter. Another factor that could be contributing to the slowdown in Tesla sales is Musk himself, according to Reuters. Market intelligence firm Caliber found customer interest in Tesla had declined from 70% in November 2021 to just 31% in February 2024. Wow. Due in part to Musk's apparent acceptance of right-wing conspiracy theories and other polarizing political views in California, where 47% of registered voters are Democrats compared to 24% who are Republican. Musk's antics may be particularly unappealing. Yeah. So, all I do is win. Except no. Tesla consumed by chaos as key senior executives leave and entire teams are wiped out. Tesla lost more senior executives this month than it probably did in its entire history before. After Drew Baglino, and Rohan Patel, Martin Vicia announced his departure during the first quarter earnings call. It appears that Rebecca Tinucci, the chief of Tesla charging infrastructure, has also been dismissed, along with the entire supercharger team of 500 people reporting to her. Daniel Ho, the chief of new product introduction, has also been laid off after more than 10 years at Tesla. Apparently that guy who, he got in headline news because he would sleep in his car, to work at, when he was working at Tesla, he'd sleep in his car and then, get back to work as quickly as possible. Apparently he was laid off as well. But yeah, ouch, guys. This is that dynamic leadership right here. Musk is a drag on his product line. He is. He legitimately is. No, it's my internet. Charging stations, just like gas stations. Tesla will not let it friend. No, I mean, he's so dumb. He's so dumb. Won't dwell on this. Just wanted to, bring it up. And then the last thing here, this psychopathic oligarch has no problem putting human beings in danger. And we all know, we've all seen the videos, the self-driving doesn't work. It's actually getting people killed. There's a bunch of lawsuits that, you know, that there's like dozens of people who have been hurt or killed from this self-driving feature that he says is not a self-driving feature. Well, Elon Musk in China to discuss enabling full self-driving. You know, just who cares? Who cares? We'll get it right one day. Beta test it, get it out there. It's a parody. It's a parody. And I don't think China's going to let them get away with it. You know what I mean? China's not going to let that happen. What they want is they want to get close to the tech, and then they want to steal it. That's what they want. But no, this psychopath wants to beta test his stupid fucking software that doesn't work on humanity. I mean, talk about accidents waiting to happen. It's already happening. Look it up. The self-driving feature is getting people killed and getting people hurt. Does not work. Watch the videos. Barely works on the freeway half the time. All right, that's all the Musk shit I had to talk about. He's a piece of shit, and he's gonna get a lot of people killed if we let him. We can't, you know, there's nothing special about this guy. We got to stop the madness. Wanted to follow up on this story because we were actually covering this during January 6th on the News Underground. It was wild when it was happening. Yeah, Lenny. Yeah. Well, it's like self-driving is, you know, it will absolutely happen, but this idea that it can only happen with webcams is pretty ridiculous. Like, give the car other sensors than cameras. It needs other sensors. That's a big problem with the Tesla tech. You know, it doesn't have any IR sensors, any other ability to sense the physical objects around it. Just its eyeballs. I don't think it does. But please correct me if I'm wrong, Chem Goblin. Took him into an interstate highway in the wrong direction. Yeah, no, I mean, there's all those videos all over the internet about the self-driving feature completely not working. But no, I wanted to follow up on this story here because we were covering it live. We were watching this guy's live stream. I was like, wow, this guy needs to go to jail. This guy's a criminal. It was totally bananas. You know, it was either him or the person right next to him that was shouting, you know, like a Call of Duty, you know, like a guy who's playing Call. He's like, oh, you know, medic, we need a medic, you know, like she gets. They were all. It was crazy. Like the attitude was like, yeah, get him, get in there, go, get in there. And then she gets shot in the neck and is lying bleeding on the floor on her Trump flag that she had wrapped around her like a cape. Everyone's like, oh, you know, like, oh, it just got serious. It just got serious. And then they all left. Then they all just they just started leaving. Immediately. It was just wild to watch it happen in real time. So apparently this guy that we were watching, sentenced to 6 years, and I totally support that because he was you know, cheering on the crowd. He was, you know, telling the cops, oh, you better leave. Telling the cops, oh, just leave, bro. You cops, you know, hey, you gotta go, man. Just leave. Just give up, dude. This is it. It's the revolution. Give up, man. It was wild stuff to watch in real time. So he has been sentenced to 6 years. I'll never forget that. Moving on to the next story. Couldn't have happened to a nicer guy. Irreparable breakdown. Trump campaign law firm suddenly retreats from years-long case. Oh, perfect picture. Oh, boom, 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 boom. Oh, oh no. A long-standing legal firm serving President Donald Trump's campaign and businesses is seeking to withdraw from a lengthy case because of, quote, irreparable breakdown in the attorney-client relationship, according to a new report in court records. So it's really wild. they're super entrenched. They're super in deep. They actually have to ask permission to separate themselves from the trial, and they might not get it right away because they're so integral to the entire, functioning of the trial. They can't just bail. So that part is pretty interesting. But the funny part is the timing, why they're leaving at this moment. The firm LaRocca, Hornick, Greenberg, Rosen, Kittredge, Carlin, and McPartland rolls off the tongue. On Friday, requested to remove itself from a lawsuit filed by a campaign surrogate who said the campaign sidelined her in 2016 after she revealed she was pregnant. And the New York Times was first to report. So she's saying, you straight up fired me because I was pregnant, which is totally wildly illegal. Quote, the timing of the motion was notable, the Times notes. Quote, just 2 days after the same federal court had ordered the campaign to turn over in discovery all complaints of sexual harassment and gender or pregnancy discrimination from the 2016 and 2020 campaigns, materials that the defendants have long resisted handing over. So they've been delaying, doing every delay tactic as possible to resist holding hard evidence of sexual harassment. I don't know from Trump or, how far up this goes, but so they were delaying. So they had to hand it over. They finally handed it over. And now they're like, yeah, we quit. We bail. Boy, the company this guy keeps, the friends in low places that Donald Trump keeps, man. God. Hold on here. Yeah, the surrogate AJ Delgado is representing herself and objected to the withdrawal in a filing Monday. So yeah, they're rejecting it. Arguing it should not be allowed until the discovery process has been compelled and calling the request a scheme to avoid compliance, the Times reports. I see. So it's another delay tactic. So they're like, if they leave, then they have to basically start the whole process over again with another team. Oh my God. It's a big delay tactic. Delgado made headlines in 2022 when she accused longtime Trump aide and political confidant Jason Miller of engaging in a cycle of sexual coercion. Coercion. Is it not cohesion? Is it cohesion? Coercion. Rape, sexual assault, abuse, battery, sexual harassment, sex trafficking. Jesus. My God. Well, we'll see how this goes. Another chapter in the saga. Another chapter in the saga, guys. Wanted to give you a little. This has been going around Twitter, and it's been going around quite a bit. I've seen it pop up on Reddit a few times as well. But this is really quite telling, just to keep all the Trump stuff together. So this person saying, Matthew Gertz is saying, personally, I think this sounds very bad. So there were some interviews with Trump, and what he said, as in terms of what his plans are in 2024 are just dictatorship, just simple, uncomplicated dictatorship. So listen to this. What emerged in 2 interviews with Trump and conversations with more than a dozen of his closest advisors and confidants were the outlines of an imperial presidency that would reshape America and its role in the world. To carry out a deportation operation designed to remove more than 11 million people from the country, Trump told me he would be willing to build migrant detention camps and deploy the U.S. military both at the border and inland. He would let red states monitor women's pregnancies and prosecute those who violate abortion bans. He would, at his personal discretion, withhold funds appropriated by Congress, according to top advisors. So, blue states get no help whatsoever. he would be willing to fire a U.S. attorney who doesn't carry out his order to prosecute someone. So he already did that, but now he's saying he's bragging about it. Like that's a strength. That's what I'm going to do. And of course, he criticizes Biden for that. Breaking with a tradition of independent law enforcement that dates from America's founding. Yeah, he doesn't care about that. He's weighing pardons for every one of his supporters accused of attacking the U.S. Capitol on January 6, 2021. More than 800 of whom have pleaded guilty or have been convicted by a jury. So was it all fake news? It was all fake? Every conviction, even the right-wingers that convicted? He might not come to the aid of an attacked ally, so this is nuts. He might not come to the aid of an attacked ally in Europe or Asia if he felt the country wasn't paying enough for its own defense. So those were the comments he made about NATO. He would gut U.S. civil service, deploy the National Guard to American cities as he sees fit, close the White House Pandemic Preparedness Office, and staff his administration with acolytes who back his false assertion that 2020 election was stolen. So he's exactly the nightmare we expect him to be. There's no ifs, ands, or buts, no question about it. He's 100% the psychopath we expect him to be. Every cynical thought you had is basically correct. The cynics are correct, unfortunately. Here's a little bit we had. We were talking early on. I was making that comparison that even Russia doesn't have to have death squads. Of course, I knew they passed those laws against gay people, but it was my understanding that they didn't have to run around and kill a bunch of gay people to make them non-persons. But looks like I was incorrect about that. Sure, Russia will arrest people for murder, but what the problem is that and it happens so much to trans people. It's really despicable. But, they'll hit it off with a guy. He knows she's trans. He knows she's trans, right? They start making out and, maybe do some other stuff. And then he has a big, gay panic moment and flips out. And kills and beats up or kills the trans person. And I'm not gay. And it's that kind of violence. It's weird. It's this weird psychosexual violence that trans people have to deal with that gets kind of normalized and enabled with when the law basically says it's illegal to be trans. Even though the law says, murder is technically wrong. And if you murder a cross-dressing person who, says they're trans, even though the law says that person doesn't exist, you'll still go to jail for that. You'll still, it'll still be wrong to kill that person. But the law, like I said, the law kind of enables that fear and it enables that impulse. I don't know. It's not like that'll go away completely. But it I don't know, kind of normalizes it in a way. Yeah, Pussy Riot, exactly. Look them up. They definitely talked about this. But no, apparently roving death squads, anti-gay purges in Chechnya, part of the Russian anti-gay purges in Chechnya, part of the Russian Federation, have included forced disappearances, secret abductions, imprisonment, torture, and extrajudicial killing by authorities targeted persons based on their perceived sexual orientation, primarily gay men. At least 2 of the 100 people whom authorities detained on suspicion of being gay or bisexual have reportedly died after being held in what human rights groups and eyewitnesses have called concentration camps. Jesus Christ. So yeah, this and the whole conversation started when we were talking about this, we had a person being called a shit lib because they wanted to vote Biden, even though Biden is absolutely terrible on Gaza and absolutely atrocious on Israel. But from a LGBTQ, gay person's perspective, the Trump administration is existential. It's an existential fight. It's a concern that, they are going to lose their rights if the right-wing conservatives get into power. And quite frankly, it's hard to tell. It's hard to tell how far, they'll use that as a political bludgeon, LGBTQ people, how far they're going to take that. Because at some point you're going to take a political hit, even in an authoritarian society. You start assassinating gay people. All right, so moving on to our Ukraine coverage. Oops, I closed my music. But I wanted to cover this pretty wild stuff. Ukraine over here using an AI. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine introduced its AI employee, Victoria. She will comment on consular information for the mass media. No, Ukraine, don't do this. This is not cool. Don't spend money on this. Don't have a human being. There's nothing wrong with the current system. I so disagree with this. I don't understand why they're doing this. I guess it's technically a nitpick. It looks fine. It looks fine. You can download the script of what she's saying at the QR code if you want the text. Why? The curiosity of it. Look at her hands. I'm curious how it does hands. Wow, it does hands really well. Weird, dude. It's weird, no, because like if you told me this was you didn't tell me this was AI, I wouldn't see it right away. I'm still having a hard time seeing it. It's really good. Why? That's my question. Why? Okay. Whatever. I don't want to read all this. Whatever. It's a curiosity. It's weird. It's trivia. Thank you, Sub Maftia. But why do you need a person to just stand there and talk when you can read the text directly? I don't know. You think this is good? Do you think this is an example of the government saving money instead of hiring a person to make these statements? How about the person writing the statement makes the statement? I don't know. Okay. I guess it could be, it's cost savings, guys. You're saving $100,000 a year. Look at that. How much is the AI, by the way? I don't know. Cheap? It will get much cheaper. This kind of stuff will get super crazy cheap. Something like YouTube, like the idea of like a video streaming, uploading, and so like that used to be really, really expensive. And then 10 years went by and it was the cheapest thing in the world, unlimited storage to upload as many videos as you wanted. Same thing will happen with this kind of stuff. So yeah, okay, you're saving money. All right. By the way, Chem Goblin, thank you for these links. A lot of these links are from Chem Goblin. So great news, guys. Also, Davey provided one link as well, I believe. But great news. We're seeing a rejection of Russia in Georgia, and we're seeing massive protests. It's actually really great news. 1 second here. Massive protests have been taking place in, oh man, I should know how to say that. Tbilisi? Is it Tbilisi? I know the T is silent. Hold on. I should know how to say this. Hold on. Is it Tbilisi? Is it Tbilisi? It is Tbilisi. Okay, Tbilisi. I thought it was. I thought the T was silent. Okay. Massive protests have been taking place in Tbilisi, Georgia, all night, with riot police violently dispersing them with water cannons and tear gas. This is a continuation of the protests that started weeks ago against Georgia's pro-Russian government, trying to enact a foreign agents law modeled after Russia's laws, which essentially shut down any non-governmental controlled journalism because even receiving money from YouTube or Patreon makes you a foreign agent. So yeah, we've seen this all before. We've reported on this. We know exactly what it looks like. And that's why they're trying to do it, trying to shut it all down. And these protests are absolutely essential. But the protests have much broader background. Georgia has been clear pro-EU course in 2000s, which was stopped on the state level after Russian invasion in 2008, an installment of pro-Russian government in Ishanvili. But population remained largely pro-EU in the same way as in Hungary, where protests were also taking place recently. So this is really a conflict about Georgia's future, whether it should remain a Russian colony or an independent country, setting its own foreign policy. For economic reasons, which are obvious to anyone who has been to Ukraine, Armenia, or Georgia. Most people prefer the EU, of course. So it's, it's so interesting. All the lefties in the West are like, oh yeah, the Western tentacles, EU, the EU and the nasty NATO, spreading its disgusting tentacles when, there's a lot of countries that, are can't wait to join the EU, can't wait to join NATO. The Russian narrative is that these protests are funded by CIA, which is what Russians say about any protest rising against Putin. But you can ask yourself, would you be ready to spend weeks protesting on streets, risking arrest, beatings, tear gas, or killing for some moderate CIA payment? Of course not. The people marching on the streets of Tunisia, Syria, Lebanon, Arab Spring, Kyiv, Euromaidan, and Tbilisi did that because they're absolutely desperate and deprived of their future for decades. It's actually quite easy to spot paid protests. These are all the pro-Russian ones where people with Russian flags arrive by buses in an organized way, spend a few hours, and then go home. So we have some clips here. Thanks again, Chem Goblin. But these are, people are showing up. As Georgia preps to finally kick out the Russians, they really should thank the people of Ukraine because this time no Russian troops are coming. They're all busy being destroyed in Ukraine. So, crazy if true, right? Think about this, like, the sacrifice of the brave Ukrainians on the front lines, giving breathing room to the Georgians and allowing them to retake their government. Is that, crazy if true. If that's how this shit works out, how crazy is that narrative? Yeah, strategy, exactly. Ghost buses. Yeah. Arbitoire. Fuel, not fund. Look at these protests. You said fuel, not fund. Oh, yeah. CIA does this kind of stuff, but the CIA can't afford this, okay? CIA can't afford this. And you can't hide this either. 20% of Georgian territory. Interesting. But people are having enough. And if it's really true that they were, that they're getting the breathing room they need because of Ukrainian sacrifice, that's amazing. For me, it's all the more reason why we got to back Ukraine up, if that's true. I want more information on that. So the clips don't stop. Breaking. Tens of thousands of Georgians pro-EU protesters are heading towards the parliament in Tbilisi to protest against the Russian-style, quote, foreign agents law. Foreign agents law. Just totally ridiculous. Just call it Orwell's law. Thought crimes will be prosecuted. Yeah, people know what this is. Damn. Good chunk of people. It can't be true, though, about the Russian government, though. Oh, it's very inspiring. Damn, it just keeps going, too. Okay, there it is. Beautiful stuff. They're hitting it with laser beams. No, that's really great. I, of course, totally support it. Totally support that. You know, separation from Russia, getting away from Russia. Not because I'm Russia-phobic, but because I disagree with how Russia wants to manage its empire and how it wants to flex its will on other countries. Seen the riot police vids in Georgia? No, Chem Goblin. Feel free to post a link. Unless you want to pull in El Salvador. Yeah, strategy. I mean, I think, you know, El Salvador is definitely, I'm not defending that police state, especially the extension, the 24 month so far, I think it was, and maybe 25, 26 months since we last covered it. But, you know, that situation in El Salvador is unique. All right, so let's get to my next clip here. Just a few more. Ukraine warns front, quote unquote, worsened as Russia claims fresh gains. So more bad news, but there's actually a little bit of good news as well in terms, I mean, it's ghoulish good news, but don't let this guy get you down too much. Russia is paying dearly for these quote unquote gains, if you want to call them that.
So the situation then at the front has worsened. That is the admission from Ukraine's top commander, as he said that Kyiv's outnumbered troops have fallen back to new positions west of 3 villages on the eastern front, where Russia has concentrated significant forces in several locations. The retreat there is Kyiv can stabilize its forces again while it takes delivery of U.S. weapons under that $61 billion aid package approved in the U.S. last week. Well, we're going to cross then live to Kyiv, talk to our correspondent who joins us from there, Gulliver Cragg. Gulliver, firstly then, give us the latest position that you're hearing on the ground, can you?
Well, Colonel General Alexander Syrskyi named 3 villages in Donetsk region that he said Ukrainian troops had withdrawn from, one of them southwest of Donetsk, 2 of them in the Avdiivka direction, beyond Avdiivka to the northwest of Donetsk city and Avdiivka. The Russians are saying that they've gone further than that, and some independent observers are also assessing the amount of terrain that the Russians have gained in recent weeks as a bit bigger than what Syrskyi is admitting to, but he said that it's not only in Donetsk region that the Ukrainians are under pressure. Of course, there's also in Donetsk region, we shouldn't forget, this key battle for the town of Chasiv Yar. Colonel Syrskyi didn't speak of any Ukrainian retreat in that area, but he said the fighting there was very intense. And then outside Donetsk region, to the north on the border between Luhansk region and Kharkiv region, he said there that the Russians had had some partial success in their advance towards trying to retake the city of Kupiansk, which is just inside Kharkiv region. But the Russians have been trying to do this for months and months. They're really only inching forward. So it's important not to, exaggerate the scale of these Russian gains. But the Ukrainians are admitting very much that they're on the back foot, including also in the south, though General Syrskyi said that in the south they were holding the line and the Russians hadn't managed to advance.
Gulliver, a lot of talk, of course, about the need for these new weapons to arrive, but there's also a big lack of manpower, isn't there? Mobilization a key issue.
Yes, that's the other key problem for the Ukrainian armed forces. They're absolutely outmanned. It's hard to put any numbers on it because, of course, they're very, very tight-lipped about it. But, you hear soldiers saying that they've only got half the manpower that they need in their brigade or their battalion, and they're really struggling, the Ukrainians, to recruit more people. I think that may be one of the reasons that General Syrskyi is being quite candid about Ukrainian withdrawals from these villages in Donetsk region, because he has a reputation after the battle for Bakhmut for being the guy that wants to hold out to the last at huge cost in human lives and won't retreat, won't make a tactical retreat even when it seems like the sensible thing to do. He wants to prove that that's not the case, that he is willing to make tactical retreats to save soldiers' lives. In all of his statements, he puts the emphasis on the need to save Ukrainian soldiers' lives because, of course, he's very aware that one of the main reasons people don't want to join the army is because they don't want to die, and the Ukrainians are taking very heavy losses at the moment. The mobilization effort is not going well. We hear more and more reports of desertions, and hundreds of thousands of Ukrainian men are believed to have left the country illegally. At the moment, the Ukrainian public opinion doesn't seem to be very impressed with the government's ways of trying to boost mobilization. The new mobilization law has much more stick than carrot in it. It aims to boost ways for the government to catch men and make it harder for them to avoid the military recruiters. A lot of people are saying that they need a whole different approach to go for recruiting, to go for trying to really motivate people more. I was thinking we might hear some kind of big motivational speech from Volodymyr Zelensky once the United States voted disaid to say, look, now the weapons are coming, you're going to have the weapons you need, and so, you know, we need to count on you. And he hasn't said anything of the sort. He seems very unwilling, the Ukrainian president, to really kind of own this mobilization drive.
Yeah, he kind of wants his cake and wants his cake and eat it too, right? He doesn't want to take the PR hit, but I've been saying it for a while. Quite frankly, he needs to enter a total war state. Ukraine needs to enter a total war state. All right, I don't know how to make that full screen. I'll just take your word for it. Thank you for that link, Kim Goblin. But there was definitely rioters, riot police hurting protesters in Georgia. So Davey posted a video in our Discord. I know, indeed, beautiful scenery. Yeah, exactly, hot dog. So Davey posted a video in Discord that's absolutely shocking, and I recommend you check it out if you can. Chem Goblin, if you'd be so nice to put the Discord link in there, if people want to see it. The video is absolutely shocking. It's a Russian walking through one of these tree lines. Thank you, Chem Goblin. It's a Russian walking through one of these tree lines. It's like a 7-minute video. It's a long one. It's not like 30 seconds. He's just walking along, and it's just Russian, dead Russian everywhere. Literally bodies everywhere. I couldn't imagine what the whole place smelled like. It must have been incredibly muddy. When it was happening, a lot of the bodies are partially buried in the mud, and are caked with mud. But hundreds, it has to be hundreds. He just kept going, and there's just more and more of them everywhere. Little pits of them, 4 or 5 corpses in a pit. You know, people trying to take cover. So I just want you to picture that, you know, when you think of these gains, because that's, you know, Russia doesn't have great strategy. They have, you know, it's not like they're totally stupid out there. They don't have, it's like, you know, if people are saying they don't have a strategy, that's ridiculous. They absolutely have a strategy, but it's, you know, they don't have a very sound strategy. Corruption has infected their military. So, they've embraced this tactic of under-equipped, under-prepared, under-trained, randos, wave after wave after wave after wave, and eventually they break through. Eventually one of them breaks through. It's like a tower defense game. You know, how the aliens, they keep coming one after the other, and eventually they just overwhelm your guns. Politics, hot dog. You can find that video in Politics. Davey posted it recently. But it's absolutely shocking. I can't show it. I couldn't. It would take me hours and hours to censor it because it would just be one dead body after the other. But it's from a Russian perspective, and clearly the fighting is over with, and he's there to like collect. They were collecting grenades off people and ammo, and you could see the guns were already piled up. It's just shocking. It's shocking. So I just want you to remember that when you're seeing this information that we're going to see here on the map, because the map, it's just kind of in our head. But if you watch that video, you can see what's happening on the ground.
Direction. Here, Russians have launched a series of coastal attacks on the Ukrainian side. Today, there is a lot of news from the Avdiivka direction. Here, Russians have launched a series of coastal attacks on the Ukrainian settlement of Berdychi to take it into a pocket. The main Russian goal to the northwest of Avdiivka is to break through Ukrainian defensive lines and reach the Ukrainian city of Pokrovsk, which serves as the main Ukrainian headquarters in the region. The first Ukrainian line of defense in the way of the Russian operation is located along the Durna River. Ever since the fall of Avdiivka, Russians have been continuously attempting to breach these Ukrainian defenses in multiple locations. The settlement of Berdychi is situated on the outermost edge of the Ukrainian river defenses, which is why it has seen the highest intensity of clashes in this direction. After Russian forces managed to cross the railway, they immediately launched numerous waves of attacks in the direction of Berdychi. The Ukrainian 47th Mechanized Brigade shared drone footage showcasing the Russian losses on the road between Stepove and Berdychi since the fall of Avdiivka.
You got to see that video.
The notable Russian losses on this road amounted to 20 armored transport vehicles, 8 all-terrain vehicles, 2 engineering vehicles, and several other weapon systems.
And remember, this is Ukraine under-equipped. This is Ukraine desperate for ammo. This is what they're capable of in that situation. So it's really the Russians, kind of their, a race against time, because once these Ukrainians get fully equipped, this battlefield dynamic is going to shift. But we are seeing new drone countermeasures that may or may not be effective. But we're quickly losing the advantage that we were enjoying just a few years ago. Oops, sorry, wrong button.
Lost up to 1,300 soldiers only in these attacks in an attempt to reach the settlement, as the footage also shows the fields and the road itself being scattered with Russian manpower losses. The 47th Mechanized Brigade also shared footage of them counterattacking one of these Russian assaults with a Bradley infantry fighting vehicle disabling and destroying the Russian armored vehicle in a duel. After the incredibly costly Russian attacks, Russians finally managed to reach the settlement of Berdychi itself. Geolocated footage shows Russian forces launching attacks with 1 or 2 armored vehicles at a time. Drone operators of the 47th Mechanized Brigade shared geolocated footage of them destroying a Russian armored transport vehicle that had made it into the settlement with an FPV drone. Another 100%. Geolocated video shows a Russian assault group attempting to rush into the settlement and take up positions in the destroyed houses. Unfortunately for Russians, as soon as they drove into the town, they were hit by an FPV kamikaze drone.
Jesus.
The Russian infantry then attempted to dismount, but they were immediately engaged by Ukrainian small arms fire and destroyed. Ukrainian drone operators also shared geolocated footage of them engaging and destroying one Russian T-80 tank near Stepove and another armored transport vehicle in the fields in front of Berdychi itself. Interestingly enough, both these vehicles were equipped with electronic warfare systems, which should have countered the Ukrainian drones. This shows that either Ukrainians have adapted to the Russian use of anti-drone systems.
Sounds like someone got a raw deal from China, bro.
And have found ways to counter them effectively, or that Russian electronic warfare systems are less reliable than claimed to be. After this series of failed frontal assaults on the village itself, Russians decided to attempt to outflank the Ukrainian defense line behind the river. While Russians successfully managed to break through to the Ukrainian settlement of Okharetine, Russians immediately launched a series of flanking attacks on Berdychi. However, Russians are using the Avdiivka chemical plant as a forward operating base as the many industrial buildings allow Russian assault groups to hide and support their attacks with armored vehicles. In an attempt to attack from this direction, they had to cover a lot of open terrain to even get close to the Ukrainian lines. Consequently, geolocated footage released by the 47th Mechanized Brigade shows that the first Russian assault group, consisting of 3 tanks, was quickly spotted by Ukrainian drone operators who were already directing artillery fire missions on Russian infantry in Stepovye. The drone operators and artillery crews then promptly shifted their attention to the assaulting Russian tanks, destroying them one by one before they even came close to the Ukrainian defenses. Shortly thereafter, Russians launched 3 more attacks in the direction of Berdichi.
3 more! So imagine
the next Russian attack.
Imagine you're on the front lines, right? They come barreling in, you know, and you just barely hold them off. You blow up their vehicle, and they retreat, and then they do it again, and then you blow them up, and then they do it again, and you blow them up, and then they do it again, and you're out of ammo. That's the situation Mike Johnson put those men in.
Consisted of a single armored transport vehicle that was similarly spotted early after it departed from the Avdiivka chemical plant. Ukrainian artillery crews opened fire on the Russian vehicle, which then got scared and decided to turn back around. Ukrainians did not relent and continued to fire on the retreating Russian vehicle, hitting it as the white smoke from its smoke canisters turned black, finishing off the Russian assault group. The next Russian attack managed to come closer to achieving its objective of outflanking the Ukrainian defenders in Berdichi. The Russian assault group consisted of 2 armored vehicles and 1 all-terrain vehicle, which managed to drive past the tree lines north of the settlement. The first armored vehicle, however, was then promptly destroyed by Ukrainian artillery, while the second only got disabled. The Russian infantry on top of the second vehicle quickly dismounted their disabled transport and tried to run into the tree line for cover. Ukrainians again did not relent and opened fire on the Russian infantry, completely dismantling the Russian attack. The last all-terrain vehicle was then sent forward to support the attack, but as it was unarmored, it stood no chance against the Ukrainian artillery. Drone operators of the 47th Mechanized Brigade later released another video of them destroying a Russian...
They just send out an unarmored vehicle? They know damn well it's going to be hit by drones and artillery. They just send them out anyway, just hoping. Maybe we'll get lucky.
Russian all-terrain vehicle with an FPV kamikaze drone.
Crazy.
While Russians failed in their attempts to take Berdichi directly, they managed to further develop their breakthrough into the settlement of Okheretanye. At that point, the situation became increasingly dire for the Ukrainian defenders in Berdichi, as they were forced to fight off Russian attacks from nearly...
Are you saying supporting Ukraine means you support Trump? Wow, what? No, Pink Owl, no, Pink Owl, no.
All sides. Almost 2 weeks after the initial unsuccessful Russian attacks on Berdichi, Russians had managed to bypass the Ukrainian settlement and cut off its main supply line altogether. This forced the Ukrainian 47th Mechanized Brigade, responsible for the region's defense, to completely withdraw from the settlement, as staying in their positions would be suicide. In the end, Ukrainians have now fully withdrawn from their defenses in
thanks for that
Berdichi.
update.
The 47th Mechanized Brigade held the line for as long as possible, but ultimately was forced to pull back, as Russians had broken through.
You know what I'm sick of, Pink Owl? You know what I'm sick of? I'm sick of people who waste my time. I don't really appreciate that. You know, go find a different chat to play games in. We're talking about serious issues. Thank you so much, Pink Owl.
Through their northern flank. It is important to note that Russians allocated nearly an entire division of motorized infantry and multiple other brigades to the Okheretine direction. And while Berdichi used to be a small village of less than 300 people, Russians had lost nearly 1,500 soldiers and dozens of armored vehicles in their attempts to take
there we go. Sorry.
If Ukrainians continue to inflict such to the Okheretine direction. And while Berdichi used to be a small village of less than 300 people, Russians had lost nearly 1,500 soldiers and dozens of armored vehicles in their attempts to take it. If Ukrainians continue to inflict such a high rate of losses on the Russian forces, the Russian detachments will quickly lose their combat capability, causing a premature culmination of the offensive effort and consolidation of the front line.
Overextension, either.
If you're against the invasion of Ukraine, and
yeah, so that's the hope, is that there might be just enough time. There might be just enough time to get these frontline positions, most of them, to get them backed up with what they need. Hopefully fresh troops are on the way. Who knows about that? But at the very least, these guys are going to have the ammo and all the good shit. The Patriots, the Attackums, all the good shit. The HIMARS, the Javelins, the TOWs. That's the hope, is that those frontline positions are going to be able to hit these guys really, really hard. And that's the only thing. It's like aliens, man. It's the only thing that fights against. There's just always another wave. The laser cannons, yeah. Where are you at, Biden? Where are you at on that? All right, let's get our final video here from your boy Dennis. I wanted to get his comments on here because we're not going to do the whole 25-minute video, but he's speaking very frank. He's speaking very honest and earnestly about the situation, and you got to appreciate that. Ukrainian native, so I always appreciate his perspective. So let's get it.
Hello my friends and welcome. My name is Dennis and this is the latest update from Ukraine. The last night Ukraine used the ATACMS missiles targeting the military infrastructure of the Russian army in occupied Crimea. The KBIMs were mostly reported in Zhankoi and also in the main city of Crimea, Simferopol, with Gvardeyska Air Base. It is already the second strike on the Crimea by Ukraine using ATACMS. Sadly, but we do not have the images from the eyewitnesses.
Yeah, I saw that headline.
Russia is very strict against their own citizens or against Ukrainians who live in Crimea if they post the results of the Ukrainian attacks in internet. For this reason, we have to rely on the satellite images. But unfortunately, this time the satellite images are not that good because there were some of the clouds in the area. So this is the Zhankoi airfield before on 20th of April and on 30th of April. But here you can see some of the black spots, so it was before and it is right now. Those are the parking spots for the Russian aircraft near the taxiway. And one more big spot appeared on the apron, but it could be the shadow from the cloud. So it is early to say of what actually was targeted there.
How do we
Russian
get this?
side confirmed the attack. However, they do not say anything about their losses or about something that was damaged. What they show is just this image of the air defense missile trace, plus this ball saying that it is the part of the ATACMS missile cluster munition.
Damn,
well, actually,
dude.
it looks like that with those kind of the ribs which held the munition
That's the
to
fucking.
fly way
That's
further from the missile than it
nasty,
separates
dude.
at some
It shoots
certain
off cannonballs,
altitude.
basically.
It just spins, hits the ground, and detonates. But what Russia shows us here,
Yeah, clutch. I saw those
different.
headlines as
Around
well.
1 week ago, there was the successful attack by Ukrainian ATACMS on Zhankoi airfield. I showed you the video of the evidence plus satellite images, so there could be some of the Russian planes damaged. Also, their ammunition warehouse in the airfield was
Satellite?
bombed.
Okay.
So Ukraine now tries to use ATACMS more. And many experts say that Ukraine might strike the Kerch Bridge connection very soon, in a week or something like that, because first of all there will be the inauguration of Vladimir Putin and also a great Russian patriotic celebration on 9th of May. So Ukraine could potentially use this strike to disturb
it down this
first of all,
time.
the Russian supply lines and
More
after
Lenny.
it for propaganda purposes, to demoralize the Russian society and first of all the Russian army. I don't think that Ukraine will strike the Kerch Bridge connection until it gets F-16s, which could also be equipped with some certain missiles able to target this part of the Russian infrastructure. Basically, there should be a combination of ATACMS, drone boats, and other
thank you,
types of
Tukawa and
missiles
Chem
like
Goblin.
Storm Shadow, Scalp, or even Taurus if someday
Okay, just
Ukraine
buy that
gets
shit,
those
okay.
in the army. From what I see, Ukraine uses the variant of the ATACMS missile, a long-range one, but with a cluster munition. At
This,
least it
footage was
used
posted in our
Zhankoi
Discord.
airfield. And Russia now attacks Ukrainian cities also with the cluster munition.
With cluster
This video
bombs.
I shared on my Telegram channel. This is Odessa City, a residential area, and here you can see lots of the cluster munition.
Unbelievable.
This was the Iskander Russian ballistic missile with those shells. So Ukraine targets the Russian military infrastructure, but Russia targets the Ukrainian cities. You know,
intentionally trying to kill as many civilians as possible.
Then before they were saying that we are friends, we are brothers, Russians and the Ukrainians. There is no difference between Ukrainians and Russians. And now they say that we should be vanished. And that is what they actually do. Just right now, while I'm recording this video, there was one more attack on Odessa.
Thanks for looking into that strategy.
Part of it. Right, guys, just a short break before we go to the Frontlines review. I want to tell you many thanks for your support on Patreon, because some of my videos were in the army in one place near Torsk before Russia tried many times to occupy the settlement. Russians also tried to advance to Yampilivka and Terny, and here for the first time Ukraine struck Russians back. This achievement is important because Russia is very close to Terny, and also they keep the high ground in this area, so for them it's much easier to advance from the geographical perspective, from the terrain perspective, compared to Ukrainian army, which goes uphill in this case. Also, it shows that even though Russia deployed many of the brigades and units in this place, they are not capable for the further advancement. The Russian army is also limited nowadays. They are dispersed. They sent most of their reinforcements to the eastern side of Ukraine, Avdiivka, also Bakhmut, and they also tried to attack on the south in Robotyne direction, plus also the southern part of the Donetsk Oblast. We're gonna review those areas today. So Russians attack in this particular place bogged down, and the Ukraine uses this time to advance and to improve positions, because now Russia would have to deviate from their plan, attacking Terny. Now they need to concentrate on this side threat for their units. So great job in stopping the Russian offense. Plus we have the confirmation about it from the Micah 73. He also mentioned that Ukrainian soldiers went to the place attacking the tree line and taking the territories back. That data is based on the actual image from the place taken by our soldiers from 23rd and 63rd Brigades. This video was published by the Deep State Military Map Source on their Telegram channel, and I'll share it on my personal Telegram channel. You might find it with a link in the video description just below. Sorry, according to the YouTube policy, I cannot share it on this platform. But what I can tell you that the counterattack of Ukrainian army was done in combination with infantry forces and also FPV drones. The FPV drones is the most effective tool for Ukrainian army. And now let's go to Avdiivka direction. Guys, I'm telling truth, so I try to tell truth on my channel. That is why I tell you about the situation as it is. If it is bad in Avdiivka direction, I would tell you about it. It's not some sort of the Russian propaganda. No. The truth is our weaponry. We need to tell the things as they are. Yes, I do not share the classified information because mainly also I do not have the access to that one, but I may tell you the public information available. And according to it, the Ukrainian army continued to lose positions in Avdiivka direction near Ocheretine. Keramik was occupied by the Russian army today. Russia continued with their several of the attack vectors. And let's go to the timeline. It was yesterday and it is today. So Russia advances from Keramik already. They go to the north from Ocheretine and they go to the west from Solovyove. Those are their three main attack vectors. The Ukrainian 150th Brigade that lost the positions from the very beginning of the Russian attack, which started to happen on the 11th of April, somewhere in this place, went to this area, and now mostly they are positioned in Arkhangelsk village. Russia will continue to attack northbound. From what I can see, they'll occupy Arkhangelsk, so probably 115th Brigade will leave this area through this small bridge in the place or via this place. While still they have the way out from this area, it is good. What is not good is the pace of the Russian army, so just in a few days, like 3 days ago, they were over here, and 4 days, they are here. They're definitely breaking Ukrainian defense in this region. We should say about it openly. However, we have just a couple of the statements from the General Commander Syrskyi that the situation on the east is difficult, but no one says that Ukraine definitely already lost Ocheretine, while a couple of the buildings do not count, and also Ukraine lost Keramik, and there is the threat for the Russian army to go further. Well, not to Pokrovsk, as Russia says, it's still far away, but Russia might be oriented to cut a very important road for Ukrainian army in all of the eastern Ukraine. I'm speaking about the road between Pokrovsk and Bakhmut. It goes like that and used to supply Ukrainian army quite a lot. We may see the same road over here, and we also see that Russia is just a couple of the villages away from it. Let's measure the distance. Here and here is just 9.45 kilometers, so 10 kilometers away. Really nothing. Russia already may disturb the Ukrainian supplies, targeting this road from their mortars, from their artillery, so the situation is not good, and Russia knows their goal. They want to cut supplies for Ukraine. That's why they're very close to Novoalexandrovka. The next village is Vozdvizhenka, and the next is this road. The Maiko Center 3 military analytic agrees with that scenario. He shows the possible direction of the Russian further movement. He also thinks that Russia may advance towards the road, but because of those trenches in the area, Russia could bypass them by moving northbound at first and then turn to the west. Also, Russia may take control over this place on the northern side from Ocheretine. Again, guys, it's the worst case scenario, but potentially it could happen because Russia accumulates more forces, and we know that they advertised that they will try to assault with even more reinforcements at the end of the May or beginning of June. This map is from the same military analytic. We see some of the Ukrainian defense lines, but they're not able to cope with the huge Russian assault. So we must state 100% that the first defense line of Ukraine in this area was broken by the Russian assault. Well, there is the other one, but the Russians are also very close to that place as well. As we see, those defense lines are not as robust as the Russian defense lines that Russia was able to build on the southern part of Ukraine. For example, this line was just occupied by the Russian army in a single day. And they also took this one and they advanced northbound, so it's difficult situation, really difficult for Ukraine. I haven't seen that fast Russian advancement for a very long time.
Yeah,
again, my friends,
either.
I'm telling you the story as it is right now. It's not very positive. However, I still keep the positive attitude.
I mean, this could also be, because they're, repositioning to a safer spot that they know is going to be easier to reinforce. It could be something like that they're allowing Russia to take, to overextend and take as much, take more than they would normally so that they can have a more stronger defensive position later back. Either way, very difficult situation, as Dennis put it. Very, very difficult. Terrible. Terrible stuff. Isn't the full Russian offensive likely to begin within the next few weeks? Yeah. Yeah, we're definitely seeing the preliminary, the beginning stages of this offensive. And like I said, it's a mad dash to see, to see if we can see if Ukraine can get its ammo. Get all that support that we just approved finally at the last millisecond, the last second. So now it's a mad dash to see how far Russia can push, take advantage of the situation. When Russia goes through Sumy, though. Thankfully, they're so preoccupied with this blitzkrieg that they don't have time for a bunch of Bucha massacres. So hopefully they don't do that. But every region that they take over is bombed to shit. Every town that they take is completely obliterated with artillery. And you bet residents are living there. Yeah, Mike Johnson can fucking ride my pole, man. I mean, he can tell his son in his porno app. But there we go. I mean, you know, peace to the Ukrainian democracy. These folks are fighting like no other army fights. They deserve separation, just as the Georgians do. They deserve separation from Russia. You know, every time I watch this, I'm more and more convinced that this is the right move to defend Ukraine. All right, folks. Big props to Lenny. Big props to Arctic Mule. Arbitoire, I think a new user. Thank you, Arbitoire, for coming in. Lenny, big props to you twice for wearing the Garbage Fuel merch. If you want to be cool like Lenny, we got the Garbage Fuel merch right here. Estonian, big props to you. Clutch Cargo. Yeah, Arctic Mule, big props to you. That's what I'm hoping. Krail of Xanath, thank you so much, Krail of Xanath. Chem Goblin, strategy member. Big props to Chem Goblin, a strategy member, for them links. Hot Dog, your boy Davey. Thank you, Davey. Hot Dog JPEG, thank you again. Let's see, who else? The Ponder Monkey, thank you, the Ponder Monkey, for coming in once again. Pussy Riot, just because I love to say Pussy Riot. Pussy Riot, Pussy Riot, Pussy Riot. Lee Spanner, your boy Lee Spanner, thank you, Lee. Yee Law, doing homework while ADHD, big props to you, thank you. OG Lee. Zeo Duke, thank you, Zeo Duke. Davey was in there. Ribbons, thank you, Ribbons. Big props to everybody. Yeah, Arctic Mule. I agree. Thank you, Arbitoire. I'm kind of chilly. Folks, creating political change is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Step 1, inform yourself. Step 2, join a progressive political organization in your area. Step 3, put in the work like Charlie Kirk. Double down and put in the work like the fascists are putting in the work. We have a legitimate fight. Kook and swoop. I got a couple ones I want to do for the bullshit showdown. But folks, if we want to create real political change, we must become political activists. And it is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Once a month, just ask yourself, what am I doing for the political movement? How can I help? I know you're busy, but I know you can do it. Peace in that motherfucking Middle East, and glory to the Ukrainian democracy. We'll see you back when I'm back in Vancouver. That'll be the next stream. Peace out, everybody. You know it. Thank you, Tuka Squaw. Tukawa. Big props to you, Tukawa. Peace out, Lenny. Make sure you're liking and subscribing to Lenny, folks. Thank you so much, Lenny. Thank you, everybody.